Yep. I got it. I'm right here. Hello, upstate South Carolina. Good morning, America. Somebody should name a show that. That's a good name for a show. Welcome in. The Rob Brown Radio program is in your ear holes. It is the Fan Upstate. It is already somehow disappointingly, maybe even depressingly, Monday. So there's that.
Yeah, but it's one day more closer to football season.
Yeah.
It's already the mid of the month for June.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're not excited about football? Okay.
I'm very excited. I'm just not going to sit here and
count down the days.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that 86 days will be gone in the blink of an eye. That is 12. I'm bad at math. 12 more weeks of
I
waiting.
I enjoy the pictures of Josh Pate in the cornfield with his hand looking in the distance, counting down the days till the kickoff of college football. I think that's kind of cool.
I mean, yeah, like last week I used to do this thing called the Countdown to College Football Kickoff, where I had a fun little sounder, and every day I'd go 86 days until toe meets leather. And I started building that thing out, and then I got halfway through it. I'm like, it's just, honestly, for me, it's more depressing than it is exciting.
No, I got a great idea. So you can not only do that before the stream, because we're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and X.
Sure are.
Is you can have a different T-shirt for each day with a countdown number. So you can be wearing 86, and tomorrow 85, and then it'd be awesome.
I worked with a guy a long time ago that I've told stories about him before.
Many times.
Yeah. I worked with a guy a long time ago who did that. And this is what when I talk to
not
you guys.
the T-shirt idea, though.
Not the T-shirt idea.
That's very original.
It's also a lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of work.
Sponsor. Hello.
I mean, sure. This is true. I'll do anything if it's sponsored. They have a word for somebody who is willing to sell their dignity in return for money. I'm that.
Gigolo?
Yeah, let's pretend that's the word I'm talking about. That's me, okay? So I'm all in. What I'm not going to do is sit here and be like, hey, guys, aren't you excited? There's only 86 days. No, I'm not. I'm excited that we're inside of double digits now. But, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like 86 days is just going to be us waking up tomorrow when it's kickoff. We are about to enter. In fact, I would even argue we kind of are, because we're about to get to Dallas-Boston, game number 2. Exactly what I told you was going to happen.
No, it didn't.
It did?
No,
what are you talking about? No, it didn't. Boston had their worst shooting game of the playoff and still beat the hell out of Dallas.
There was no beatdown. If that game was in Dallas, Dallas wins that game. I mean,
how?
It's obvious.
How?
Because of calls, and Kyrie will play better in Dallas.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. For sure.
He will, because Boston is getting.
I have terrible
him more
news for
you
then. This game is the series is hosted by Boston.
Oh, I know.
So
I'm well
even
aware.
if Kyrie plays good in Dallas but crap in Boston, they're still screwed.
Well, yeah, possibly.
Last night was the worst offensive performance of the postseason for the Boston Celtics, and they still covered against Dallas. Good team wins, great team covers, and Boston covered.
Why are you getting all upset about? I mean, it's not over till they lose the third game. If they lose Wednesday, got to wait all the way till Wednesday. They lose Wednesday, then it's over.
So we do have to wait all the way till Wednesday, which is the direction that I was going in there for a second. We are going to come in the next couple of segments to talk a little bit of NBA Finals game number 2, as Boston did win and cover, because good teams win and great teams cover last night. So you guys, we are about to enter peak off season. At least with the NBA Finals going on, we have today to recap game 2. We have tomorrow to kind of discuss the hypotheticals. We have Wednesday to break down game 3. And then we have Thursday off and Friday off before Saturday game. And then we got 3 days off again. It's very stretched out. Of course, we have the Stanley Cup Finals ongoing right now. Florida with the big dub in game number 1 because, and this is true, Sergei Bobrovsky is better at hockeying than any of us are at doing anything. No matter what it is that you are the best at that thing, Sergei Bobrovsky is better at playing goalie than you are at that. Okay? He just is. He just is. Good news is we got a game 2 tonight between the Oilers and the Panthers. Puck drops at 8 p.m. down in Sunrise, Florida, which I'm very excited about because if Bobrovsky does in game 2 what he did in game 1, this thing's going to be over faster than anything else. The Panthers made a ton of mistakes in game 1, and it did not matter because every time something blew up, Sergei Bobrovsky was right there to clean up the mess. That dude is iconic right now. Definition of defense wins championships. But once the Stanley Cup finals are over, once the NBA finals are over, we have a week of Omaha. Actually, not even true. That's going to be going on concurrently. We have a week of Omaha, which, by the way, Clemson. What are we doing here, bud?
Hey, where do baseball players go when their season's done? We know basketball goes to Cancun.
Basketball players go to Cancun.
Where do college baseball players go?
I don't know, like a delayed spring break, Panama City Beach.
You think so?
Yeah, they got the haircuts and the glasses for it.
Or maybe they just had to Myrtle. They probably had to Myrtle.
I still haven't been to Myrtle Beach. I feel like at some point I gotta put it together and get over there.
You're going to elite critique. So, but I mean, you grew up on a beach. You can't help that.
I didn't just grow up on a beach. I grew up an hour from Panama City Beach. Panama City Beach is everything Myrtle Beach aspires to be.
How do you know? You've never been to Myrtle Beach.
Because I've heard the stories, and it's Panama City Beach.
All right.
The number of mistakes I have made in Panama City Beach cannot be quantified nor qualified. They are frequent and they were bad.
Require penicillin or an ointment. Does
so through my youth, I was able to avoid most medical issues that arise from trips to Panama City Beach. So far, so good. But
other than falling down and hitting your head and stuff like that.
No, that wasn't a problem when I was young. I was an athlete when I was young. It's just when I got into my late 30s that I suddenly lost the ability to person. Anyway, yada, yada, yada. We're about to enter peak off season. I had a cat that he used to do a segment every day from 99 days till kickoff down to the kickoff of college football. And he would base his entire show around this. He would go, all right, we've got 72 days left until the beginning of the college football season. So
did he actually talk like that?
No, not at all. I can do it like him, but it's a little more offensive. He'd go, all right, y'all, we got 72 days until the start of the college football kickoff. So here's my question for y'all today. Who's the best number 72 to ever play college football? And he would do this every day. And every day he'd get the same 6 goobs who would call in with their story of that time that back in 1968, Ole Miss had an offensive guard named Willie Pastrami who wore number 68. And I'll tell you right now, he just come on out, don't flap back everybody on the football. I'll tell you, just pancakes. He's like an IHOP serving up pancakes every day. Every day, every snap. Good old number 68, Willie Pastrami. And that was the show for months. That was it. That was the show.
This is the best Southern accent you've ever done. I mean, this is amazing.
That's the Mississippi Southern.
I know, but still,
Mississippi Southern accent.
But still, people don't realize that there are different dialects of Southern accent, and that was excellent.
Daggone Southern Mississippi right there, right? So you going down there and talk about number 68, play left tackle for the Ole Miss Rebels, and by God, this was back when they were the Rebels. You know what I mean? Not that bear. We were the real Rebels, the good Rebels. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? And now, daggone Willie Pastrami, number 60, Willie Pastrami he'd go out there and he'd block the whole defense. He'd had 11 flatbacks every time they snapped the daggone football. I'll tell you what, they don't play football no more like they used to back in Willie Pastrami's day. Willie Pastrami wearing number 68, boy, I tell you what, He's just a different breed of feller back there. And then I remember we get on done with the game, and the whole student body would head on down to Johnny's Soda Shack, and old Willie Pastrami come in there, and he was such a good feller. He'd buy a root beer float for every son of a biscuit that was up in that soda shop on a Saturday afternoon in Oxford, Mississippi. Scott, you know how you spell Mississippi? Mississippi. Mississippi.
I missed an S there. I was close, though.
Don't you disrespect the Rebels like that. All right. And then you got right on across the road, you got them dadgum Mississippi State Bulldogs. And I remember one game back in 67. What did I say his first name was? Was it Bill Pastrami?
I don't know. Sounds good though.
Oh, Johnny Pastrami wearing under 68. There's one game.
There we go. Bill was his nickname. No one knows why.
Yeah. He went on down there. We talked on Bulldogs, Mississippi State. No, old Bill, Johnny Pastrami. That was it. Daggone Johnny Pastrami. You have to forgive me. That was a long time ago. Johnny Pastrami going there to take on daggone Bulldogs. And I'll tell you what, that man had. It's true. I went back and watched it on the YouTubes. That fella had 916 flat back blocks on that dadgum Bulldog team right there. 916 pancakes in one game. I tell you what, they just don't make them like old Johnny Pastrami no more. I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know why I committed that much to the Johnny Pastrami lore, but here we are.
Because it's 6:12 on a Monday, a rainy Monday morning. Why not?
Because we got 86 days till football. Peak off season is coming, my dudes and my dude. That's the peak time of the season where radio hosts around the country are going to start dropping the annual off season topics of what's the greatest sports movie ever? What's the greatest fictional athlete of all time? Who's got the best spring uniforms? Like, it's inevitable. It's coming. The point here is embrace these last few days where we actually have sports for all their worth.
Was that a helmet? What were you doing there? Or is that you were getting in the
find your zen?
Oh, okay. Is that what? Okay. All right.
Your chi, your center, your third eye. Home.
Sounds demonic.
Home. Find your chi, because you got like 2 more weeks of basketball, 2 more weeks of hockey. And then, and it's no problem for me, fellas. No problem for me. Then we got NASCAR and we got baseball till August.
Nope.
Yep.
Olympics.
Oh, that's true. We do have the Olympics this year. I blanked on the Olympics. Good call. Good call. Pretty excited about the Olympics. Hey, speaking of
even though you forgot about them, you're really excited.
Super jacked up, guys.
Yeah,
super jacked up. And JIC.
Just in case.
Yep, that's it.
Okay,
That's it. See, we're catching Lonzo up with the millennials
why
out
not
here.
Just say just in case.
We are catching them up with the millennials. I'm very excited about that. JIC, 2 very interesting Olympic stories happened this weekend. Number 1, and this is true, I did the research, the men's United States national soccer team got the dog. Wait for it. Hang on. I got to figure out. Wait. I think today I consider myself all right, there it goes. I fixed it. Got the dog kicked out of them. 5-1 to Colombia this weekend. Hey, everybody. Gregaga's back. The worst ass kicking of his men's national team tenure. 5-1 at Colombia. And don't get me wrong, Colombia's a good side. Okay? They're a good side.
Good side. What's
team.
that mean? Okay, so it wasn't like side of the country or the
No,
Stay
side.
with-
In soccer, they're called, instead of teams, they're sides.
You
Like,
said
have
you
that
weren't going
side
to do that
and side.
anymore, and why are you doing it?
Now, I mean, I'm going to dabble. They're a good international team. And I'll put this one into English for you. We sucked. Like a lot. And of course, Gregaga had the stones to come out and say, we don't look at this as a learning lesson. We look at this as a wake-up call. Oh, you mean the one that we have been screaming for the entire time you've been the coach? That's the one. And you mean about a game that you did the same things you've been doing the whole time? Trust of the process. Well, Greg, this is true. We ain't won since you enacted the process, my guy. Not a freaking thing. We ain't won bleep while we've been trusting the process. You know who gets to say trust the process? Nick Saban gets to say trust the process. Kirby Smart gets to say trust the process. Bill Belichick, when he was with Tom Brady, got to say trust the process. Ryan Day doesn't get to say trust the process yet, does he? No. Jim Harbaugh at Michigan could have said trust the process. Like, you're not a guy that gets to say trust the process. The process has got to process something. So we're going to talk about that. That is Olympic story numero uno. And then there's Olympic story numero dos. And we are going to talk about this a little later in the show. Because my dear, dear friend, Lil Tree, a.k.a. Trista Crick, host of BetMGM Tonight, had a take on it. And she's right. The United States women's national basketball team Olympic roster was released this weekend. Hey, Lonzo, you want to take a stab at who's not on it?
A rookie who doesn't deserve to be there because she's a rookie.
Wow. Lonzo and I are going to fight today. I'm excited. I'm very excited.
Are there any other rookies on the team?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
She's the best
I think it
in
does.
the game.
I think it does.
You're setting 41-year-old Diana Taurasi. 41-year-old Diana Taurasi. 41. She's older than me.
When's the last time America was, or the United States was even threatened with losing college basketball?
They are the world is catching us on the basketball stage more and more annually.
Uh-huh.
I would like to go win gold medals, not have feel goodsies. I want gold. It's our sport.
Okay.
I want gold.
Then
I am a basketball elitist.
Why did the soccer team hang on to all those old players when they could have infused it with younger
They
players?
just got rid of all of them.
Yeah, I know.
They're all gone.
Yeah, I know.
They're all cooked.
Now.
Okay, we suck now. We have to move on.
Because they decided to retire.
No, because the world caught up with us and they got pushed out because we were not dominant anymore. Caitlin Clark needs to be on that roster. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more coming up. Cole Bryson joining us at the London this hour because he was at Clemson's super regional loss to Florida. We'll talk to him. John Blau at 8:40. And then Lonzo and I fight a bunch. We'll see how it goes. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is The Fan Upstate. Okay, my headset's out of battery, so I have to go replace it now.
Wait, I don't think we were scheduled to fight today. I could check my check my schedule.
I mean, not with that attitude, we're not.
Well, I only do that when I get paid extra. That's all.
You get paid?
Yeah, I know.
Trey, what's up, big dog? That's a good call. We'll just go whiteboard.
I got one. I mean, I could lug it in here every day, but
Let's go Woody Page on it. Yeah. Wasn't it Woody Page that did the whiteboard or the chalkboard? On
it was,
PTI?
still is, I
You
believe.
still do it?
Yeah, I don't really watch the show anymore, but I'm pretty sure. Wait a minute, who's coaching the women's team? Is Don not coaching the women's team?
No.
Oh, we might lose him.
But Don's under fire. Cheryl Reeve, who was also the coach of the Minnesota Lynx.
Okay.
She was an assistant on the team that won gold medals in 2016 and 2020, as well as the 2014 and 2018 FIBA World Cups. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio and on your cell phone using the Odyssey app, AUDACY, and on your computer by going to thefanupstate.com, and on your video monitors by following us on Twitch or YouTube or Yahoo. Yahoo?
Sure.
Why not?
I think Yahoo's still. We got Yahoo sports news and stuff, so it must still exist.
I just found a golf book I really am interested in, and like jokes aside, it's a book about the history of soccer. By
wait, you just said you found a golf book.
Sorry,
and
I gotta tell you, dude.
History of
I gotta
soccer.
tell you, I'm getting it handed to me this month. It has been a struggle bus of an AM. Last night was one of those nights, great one, that it took me forever to fall asleep because, and I hate saying this sentence, it makes me cringe to my core. I had a hard time falling asleep last night because my hips hurt, which is the oldest old man thing I've ever said in my life.
Oh my Lord, my hip.
My hips hurt.
My hip. I turned over and my hip had a pain in it that just jarred right down to my spine.
Shooting pain. And then I woke up this morning to find out that it rained. So now I'm terrified. That's my old man thing. Well, my hips are hurting, so it's going to be raining later.
Well, Rob. Welcome to old age.
I'm terrified that's going to be a real thing.
When it rains all day, you know what Lonzo does? Nothing. He becomes his papaw.
Dude.
Who my papa was bedridden my entire time knowing him. Yeah. And I always wondered why. Now I know. So,
I was fine all day. I got up early yesterday. I went out to the BMW Pro-Am with Joey B, friend of the show.
Did you get the grass cut?
Did not. I went to a golf tournament.
Okay,
I had priorities.
I actually got my grass cut yesterday. So
I did not cut the grass. We had the show Saturday. We went downtown to Greenville Jazz Fest on Saturday night. I woke up Sunday. I spent all day at the Pro-Am on Sunday. I got to the house. I sat in last night. There was a couple of dudes that do an LSU podcast that asked me to come on and sit in for half an hour with them. So I did a podcast last night and I felt great all day. I laid down in bed and just could not fall asleep because my hips hurt too bad.
It's not the rain. It's the humidity, the change in pressure.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. It
stinks.
Yeah. It's not good. So
my whole day is just, I'll put it this way. I genuinely haven't had a monster in a week and I broke the streak today because there was no getting through it if not.
I'll let you know if it works.
So I was going through.
Kyle Push on 9-3.
I put our sports flash in and I put a news story that includes the fact that there's a couple of big names outside of NASCAR's playoff rankings right now, right? Bubba Wallace is in the final playoff spot as of right now, and Kyle Busch is behind him. Joey Logano is behind him. Neither one of those guys has a win, so neither one of them are in the playoff field yet. And when I put together our sports flash and sent it over the great one, I had put Kyle Busch into it. And I have no excuse for it other than I'm just trying to get my bleep together, and it is not going great.
Hey, I'm not a NASCAR guy, and I wanted to make sure. I mean, but I do know a bunch of the names, and I hadn't heard that guy before, and I was making sure. I knew Ryan would push, so I thought maybe that was it. But, I could have just read it as written.
I half expected that you would have, to be honest with you.
Come on.
All of this to say that I just found
I can tell what kind of day you're having.
Bad.
by when how much editing I have to do.
That's fair. It's fair. I just found a story, a book on the history of soccer, which I'm very intrigued to read. I love the sport, but I will also acknowledge that I've never really deep dived the history of football like I have deep dived, baseball history, NFL history, whatever.
Is it deep dived or is it deep?
That's what I'm going with.
Okay. All right.
And I just found a book about the history of the sport written by James Harkin and Anna Paszynski, where they deep dived the history of football. And the title of the book about soccer is A Load of Old Balls. And I've never gone to Amazon faster to buy a book.
A synonym of deep dive would be in depth. I don't know if you wanted to add that.
No, I like deep dive.
I've never went in depth instead of.
No, I'm sticking with deep dives.
Okay.
I like it. So I'm going to save the Caitlin Clark thing for a little later in the show, both because I do think it is something that generates a good conversation about meritocracy versus feel-goodsies in sport. Because I think we made some feel-goodsy decisions about building this roster. And yes, I understand the U.S. women have won the gold medal in the last 2 Olympic Games, and they will be favored to do it again. They will be likely a minus money bet to win the gold medal in this. But I am very interested in the roster construction, A, and B, the fact that this conversation generated a lot of interest from the sports world, which, again, if you'd have told me 2 years ago that not only would I be justified in having a conversation about the women's national basketball team outside of the actual Olympics, but that it was going to be a dominating conversation for an entire weekend, I'd have thought, that's great. But even as an advocate of women's sports, I don't think that's happening. And here we are. So I'm going to get to that later on in the show. I will get to the Greg Berhalter stuff later in the show as well. Real quick, because we got Cole Bryson, host of Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson right here on the Fan Upstate, joining us in the next segment to talk a little Clemson baseball with us, because the Super Regionals went real bad for Clemson. They did everything I said you can't do if you want to beat a Florida team that, while they are not great, making, 28 and 27 going into the regionals, and a team that most college baseball fans thought should have been left out. They do have the ability to score a ton of runs. They have the ability to cross the plate a lot of times, and they did.
So how's it going to be when Florida wins the whole thing after all the people complaining about them being in there?
It's really interesting you bring that up.
What kind of is it going to be backtracking? There's going to be, yeah, I know they won, but they shouldn't have been there, because you always point out when you talk about Florida, well, they shouldn't have been there.
They shouldn't have been there.
Okay, well, they
and
are.
That is a conversation that I actually have on the rundown to have later on today. I have it on the rundown because something real bad is happening if you are a fan of a smaller school. Because the argument is building right now that a 28 and 27 SEC team should get in ahead of a 41-win team from a minor conference, from a smaller conference, because they're just better. And the eye test doesn't matter. The stats don't matter. What matters is they play in a tougher conference, a tougher schedule. And while we have all you
mean like in football? Like in football?
Very much.
Okay,
It is absolutely a conversation that is going to transcend sports. It's not just a baseball conversation. It's absolutely a college football discussion. Now, I think it probably matters less now with the 12-team playoff than it did when we had a 4. But yes, this is exactly the conversation. But here's a 28 and 27 baseball team that got in, went on the road, won a tough regional, came to Clemson, take on a national seed out of the ACC and the Clemson Tigers, not just win the super regional, but sweep the super regional 2-0 in back-to-back days. And now they're headed to Omaha. And again, not just headed to Omaha, but how many times have I told you, when it comes to baseball, MLB, college, high school, it doesn't matter. The team that lifts the trophy is not always the best team. It's the hottest team. It is a team that is the hottest at the end of the year.
It's the champion.
It is the champion. But the champion isn't always the best baseball team.
All right. The winner of the 1973 championship, were they a hot team or were they the best team?
I don't know who the hell won it.
I don't know.
Well,
either.
then why'd you ask me?
If I look it up, yeah, like you would know.
Why'd you
if
ask
I look
me?
it up, it's we'll say who won. It won't say they won because they were hot, or they won because they were the best team, or they won because the other team had 35 injuries the night before. No, it just, I know there's not 35 play. Anyway.
Like, I get what you are saying, but to disregard.
Yeah, they won, but they didn't deserve it.
Who's the best team in Major League Baseball last year?
Okay. I know you're going to say the Braves.
It was.
Record-wise,
Correct.
You would be correct.
Correct. Not just record-wise. I would argue, not argue, I would state as a definitive fact. 1 through 9, the Atlanta Braves had the best lineup statistically and eye test in all of baseball last year. 1 through 5, the Braves had arguably the best pitching staff in baseball last year. The Braves were the best team in baseball last year. The AL was won by the third or fourth best team in the AL, both statistically and record-wise, the Texas Rangers. But the Rangers got white hot into the postseason, and they carried the momentum. The Phillies have now twice in a row, been the lesser team between Atlanta and Philly, and twice have bumped that team for the playoffs.
Who is the best team in the NFL last year?
I mean, Kansas City, I would have to argue. Right?
I mean,
but you do realize that
not
Kansas
going
City,
into the playoffs.
You do realize that Kansas City doesn't play baseball, and I'm talking baseball right now.
I'm just saying in any sport.
No, but that's not true. It's baseball. This is a baseball-centric conversation.
Okay, so baseball is the only one that matters. Okay.
No, I'd argue it does in hockey as well.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, it is an adage for a reason that the team that gets the hottest heading into the postseason will make noise. And that this year was the Florida Gators. Do they deserve to be there? No. They are also the hottest team in baseball right now, and they just beat Clemson in the house. Took them to the rack, right? So now I do have to wonder, what does this do for the rest of sports? Because I'm going to tell you, the SEC got 11 in this year, and the last team to get in has just won a super regional. Tell me next year there's not reason for the SEC to make an argument to get 15 teams in. Hey, our 500 teams went in there and beat the ACC as if one series is definitive, but that's going to be the argument. We'll talk more about that later on. Cole Bryson joins us in the next segment to talk about Clemson baseball. John Blau will do the same coming up at 8:40 as we stick a fork in the Clemson baseball season. It's all coming up. Rob, Lonzo, and you. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. That's my nightmare. The first video you sent me. That's my nightmare.
Which one was
the
that?
Mayflies?
Oh yeah,
that's my nightmare.
I've been to that amusement park
with a flamethrower. I hope.
And the fact that you're all, they're on the roller coaster and they're already in. So the bar is down. They cannot get out.
Nothing you can do.
All I can say is don't open your mouth. And if you're a mouth breather, you're probably struggling.
If I'm showing up and that swarm is happening, I'm not getting on that damn roller coaster, Jack.
No, I don't think it happened until they were on it. I think if you watched like the flies come down, I don't think they were necessarily.
Y'all better
there.
push that red abort button, because I'm getting off this thing if I got to break it to do it. Oh,
Where's Billy?
Oh, we are calling him, by the way.
Well, that would have been nice if you had told me.
Sorry, I thought I did.
No, you did not.
You know what day I'm having.
Yeah. Okay.
You got his number?
Yes.
If not, I got it right here.
Well, I do have his number.
Okay.
I had his number before you did.
You're a Cole Bryson hipster?
No, but we've been frenemies for a really long time.
Frenemies.
Let me just find my contacts. I don't need you to give it to me. I'm going to wait till the last second anyway, because, you know. Wow, where is it? I can get there another way, dummy.
And look at you, hands perfectly placed on the wheel, not like a drive to the right of you, please. Really going after that drum solo. Save the drive wise and most you only have weight based on you. Hi, Diego. It's Jennifer Coolidge. You know, I just want to say your cashback match makes me feel so special.
Let me write it down bigger because I can't. If you hesitate at all while trying to dial out on this phone, it's the lady's like, sorry, too slow. Oh, wow, that's us.
The Rob Brown Show continues. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob, Lonzo, you. We got a lot we got to take away from this weekend. A 3-0 win by the Florida Panthers to take a 1-0 series lead up over the Edmonton Oilers. We'll get into that. Boston Celtics get a dub over the Dallas Mavericks in games 1 and 2. They are up 2-0 over the Dallas Mavericks, as game 3 will be Wednesday night back in the Big D. And I do mean Dallas. Looking around the landscape of college baseball, of course, we had our super regionals this weekend. We've got a couple of super regionals that will finish up today to determine who is punching a ticket to Omaha. Actually, we have just the one, NC State and Georgia, the only elimination game that is scheduled for today. Tennessee did finish the Purple Aces of Evansville. Tennessee wins that series 2-1. Texas A&M got Oregon last night. They had a 9-run inning to bump the Ducks last night. They win that series 2-0. A&M headed to Omaha. Georgia and NC State. NC State clobbered Georgia in game 1. Georgia got it back in game 2. Elimination game today. Kentucky survives Oregon State. A 3-2 finish between the Cats and the Beavers. Kentucky is on the way. And, of course, as we mentioned, it took 13 innings and multiple ejections to get it done. But the Florida Gators, 11-10 winners over the Clemson Tigers. They sweep the Super Regional over Clemson 2-0. And now they are the mighty Gators of Florida, to Omaha to break that series and that game from yesterday and all the chaos and shenanigans that took place within it. Is one half of Wire to Wire, America's favorite sports talk radio show, as long as you don't mention this one.
Which wire is he?
He's the second wire. He's the wire that puts the 2. Number 2, by the way.
I think of him as the first wire. So, I mean, I guess it's...
I mean, it depends on how you feel about the guy. He is Cole Bryson here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate, who, ladies and gentlemen, was in this building at like 5:07 this morning. Cole, are you okay?
That's a great question, but most people would say no. I will say yes, though. I'm all good.
I like it. I like it.
He's not all good. He's not okay. He's just awesome.
He got a little glimpse into the world of Rob and Lonzo this morning, and I don't think he liked it.
No, not at all. Y'all can have it. Y'all can absolutely have it. The morning hours, 6 o'clock showtime. No, I'm good.
That's true,
all
Cole,
yours,
but
man.
I'm done at noon and I'm golfing by 1 though, bud.
Here's the thing. Someone such as yourself shows up that early. We think one of us is getting fired. That's it. Because why else would you be here?
True. Good point.
All right.
My apologies for no text.
Let's talk a little baseball, fella. First and foremost, obviously Clemson with the L, but man, the drama in that game yesterday. Bakich gets tossed, Leggett gets tossed. You got bat spikes. You got first basemen and pitchers running into each other on tags. Like, what was the mood in that stadium? Because across TV, it was very dramatic.
No, it definitely was in the stadium as well. After the second inning collision that you talked about, Rob, on the first base path, it seemed like that was the extra spark of energy the fans needed just to boo everybody in the Florida lineup the rest of the day, right? Like it was already a team with Jack Caglianone that Clemson fans were very against. They made it very clear that they were going to boo Jack every time he came out, best player for the Gators. But, after that second inning, after the collision on the base path, there did seem to be a little bit more energy, not just from the fan base, but from the players as well. And I said yesterday on Twitter, maybe, that might have been a good thing for Clemson. They might have needed that. I didn't expect it to go 13 innings and us see more drama in the 13th inning. But I will say this, for college baseball atmosphere, the energy, the electricity, by far the best atmosphere I've ever been in. I don't know how many. I didn't hear an official count of how many were there yesterday. But, man, it rivals a lot of sports in terms of atmospheres.
I said going into this series that there was a thin line to be walked for the Clemson Tiger baseball team because on one hand, it is a team that has a lot of juice, has a lot of energy. But on the other hand, I thought if you allowed it to become an emotional game, I thought if you allowed it to become a game that was being dictated by stress and excitement and enthusiasm or anger or whatever, I really did think that played into Florida's hands because of Kevin O'Sullivan. Kevin O'Sullivan's a guy who knows how to kind of ensnare the emotions of his baseball team and utilize them for good. I didn't know if Bakich could or could not match that. Do you think that came into play, or was it just Florida played better baseball?
No, I think it did. I mean, Kevin's kind of like the old dog, right? I mean, he's been there before. And I'm not saying Eric hasn't, but none of this is new for Kevin O'Sullivan. And he talked about it in the post-game press conference last night. You would think that after a win like that for Sully, there's excitement. But what I took away, Rob, was from that press conference, him and his players both, they acted like, they still had another game to play. It was nothing new to them, and it just kind of tells you what kind of culture he has in place in terms of the experience that he has in the game, in the SEC. He wasn't really overjoyed last night. Don't get me wrong. He was more than happy to be on the winning side of things. But you're right, to your point, Clemson's emotion, you don't want to have to live off of that. I was worried. I said it last week that their pitching eventually was going to be an issue. We had Clemson guests on, and no offense, not trying to be critical, but, certain Clemson media tried to tell us earlier in the week that their pitching wasn't an issue, and I said that I disagreed. I thought it was. And, their starting pitching at times this year has been pretty solid. However, when you get to the fourth, fifth inning against Clemson, even the sixth, you can get some runs back. And Florida proved that over 2 games. And Florida's pitching, now I'm not saying they're the best either. However, Florida just doesn't quit scoring runs, man. Their bats are so deadly. And when you go up against a team like that, you better have a guy out of the bullpen that can shut them down. And that was, in my opinion, that's the biggest missing piece off of this Clemson team. For as good as they were, 44 wins or whatever it was, phenomenal season. Rob, I just didn't feel like they had a guy out of the bullpen that could come in and shut it down at any time.
So we were talking about this, and you're a baseball guy. You can help me out in this conversation. I made the argument, and Lonzo wanted to push back on me a little bit, that it is not the best team that wins in the postseason of baseball. It's the hottest team, right? Like, that's an old baseball adage. It is not the team that's got the best 1 through 9. It's not the team with the best pitching. It is the team that is the hottest coming into the postseason. And I think that.
Can I ask Cole? I want to ask Cole the same question. 4 years ago, who won the College Baseball World Series?
Was it Vandy 4 years ago?
Were they the hottest team, or were they the team that won? Do you remember?
Well,
10 years ago, Cole. 10 years ago, who won the college baseball championship? Do you look at you? Were they the hottest team, or were they just the champion? People, you don't go through and go,
Lonzo,
well, they didn't deserve to win.
We are not talking about the ability to remember a team. We're talking about the ability of a team to win in a postseason.
All
Those
right,
are different things.
and I'm pointing out how people look at records. They don't go back through and go, well, that's it. That team was a hot team. No, you look at who won. You look at who lost. Whoever won was the best team.
Well,
it doesn't matter what either one of you say. You guys are wrong. The winner is the best. Everybody else are losers.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I don't know how you guys knew this, but I actually asked Kevin O'Sullivan that question last night in the post-game press conference. I said, look, you've been coaching baseball a long time. What kind of message does this provide, for the future, for future teams, for a team like you to go in the SEC and struggle and be inconsistent, only win 13 games in conference, but be able to come out of the conference and get hot, and your pitching improve every single weekend, and all of a sudden here you are in Omaha now. I would say there's 100% legitimacy behind being the hotter team rather than the best team, because the bottom line is the best team can get you a lot of wins, but the hotter team wins when it matters.
Yeah. That's just baseball.
Nah, it doesn't make sense to me.
I mean,
you call me dense, call me dumb, call me whatever. But in the end, the winner is the best.
That's fine.
They were the best that day. They were the best whenever, but they won, so they're the best.
Okay.
Everything else is an excuse of losers. That's what it is.
All right. Well, Cole and I are going to say this team, this Florida team, my thought, Cole Bryson, is that since they got to the spot that they were about halfway through the season and playing 500 ball, Florida has been fighting for their lives. They have had the afterburner turned on for the better part of 2 months now, whereas I think Clemson kind of got to the point late in the season, and especially with, to me, a lack of emphasis on the conference tournament in the ACC, unlike the SEC. I feel like Clemson just waited too long to turn it on, and I think it showed this weekend.
Well, there's a lot to be said about having to play meaningful baseball down the stretch, right? And Florida did, and Clemson did. The fact of the matter is Louisville, Boston College wasn't meaningful baseball. And I got a lot of pushback from it on our social medias during that 2-week stretch. And then they got swept by Wake Forest. And it's like, oh, well, we're going to ignore the fact that they hadn't played anybody for the last 3 weeks. And then, like you said, they get the ACC tournament and basically say, hey, we're not going to try to win any games. We're not even going to throw our best arm. So, does that set you up for the best success postseason? I don't think it does. Am I saying that's the reason Clemson lost this weekend? No, but it does, in my opinion, have a little weight to it. Again, you said it. Florida's been playing meaningful baseball for a month and a half, 2 months now, and it really does matter in baseball.
All right, so let's talk about the drama at the end of the game. The ejections, obviously you had one in the second inning, and then you had Bakich and Leggett both getting the boot in the 13th inning. And listen, I as a fan, I loved Bakich coming back to the stands and hyping up the crowd and let's bleep and go, which was very evident. I love all that. That's all well and good. But like I said, I think Clemson was at the risk of getting over emotional. I think over emotional can ruin games just as much as under emotional can. You were there, you watched all this play out. Can you just kind of give me a general sense of what was going on in the stadium, kind of what the response has been so far? And do Clemson fans feel like those ejections played a role in the outcome of the loss?
Those ejections did not in the 13th. The ejection of the second, you could argue, did because Ty Olenchuk had to come in to fill a hole in the bottom of that lineup for a better part of the game. I think he had 4 or 5 at-bats because it went so long. I don't think the Bakich and Leggett ejection had anything to do with the loss. After the Alden Mathis home run, he slammed the bat down, right? And by the way, it was the most wildly insane baseball game I've ever been to. He slammed the bat down. He was given a warning, and then, chaos ensued, Rob. And as last night, we're in the post-game interview waiting to interview Bakich, and we're told that there's an NCAA postseason rule that if the player or if the coach is ejected, he can't speak to the media. So the NCAA did release a statement on those rulings, which you can find an article on thefanupstate.com and read those rulings. But I'll tell you this, it was the most chaotic few minutes that I've ever seen for a baseball game. To answer your question, no, Bakich and Leggett getting thrown out didn't really have any direct correlation for me in terms of them losing the game. However, you kind of felt like with them being the away team, remember, Clemson was the away team yesterday. There was a lot of risk because you knew how deadly that lineup for Florida was. And if they got back around and you didn't have a 2-3 run lead, even though Clemson did have a 1-run lead, it still didn't feel like they had enough. And guess what? They didn't.
That was an interesting way for what felt like a promising season for Clemson baseball to come to its conclusion. So, Cole, what's the optimism moving forward? Because on one hand, I did have to remind a Clemson buddy of mine last night, it's Erik Bakich's first year, right? Like, he just got here. This is the first run at it after coming over from Michigan, and he put together a super regional run. I know there's a lot of Clemson fans that are worried because you hosted 5 regionals and went 0 for 5 in them. Now you get to the supers. You've got a ball club that's barely 500, a ball club that a lot of people don't even feel should have been in this tournament. I am one of them, to be clear. And you drop 2 out of 2 against them to get bounced. What is the feeling about this program moving forward, in your opinion?
Man, I think there's a ton of optimism. I mean, there's no doubt that they've got their guy. I think Erik Bakich is the most loved Clemson coach right now on campus, and I mean that. I mean, he is loved by every Clemson fan. He took Michigan. By the way, for those that don't know, Michigan's not a baseball school. I don't know if you knew that or not, but Michigan, he took them to a College World Series. So they've got their guy, and they've got to get better. They've got to get some better arms. They've got to get some better bullpen arms, but they're a really good team. They're still returning a ton in 2025, and they're going to continue to build. It would be shocking for you to envision, for me and you both to envision 20 years from now when Erik Bakich retires or hangs it up or whenever that happens, for him not to have won a College World Series at Clemson.
Cole Bryson, host Wire to Wire alongside our own Diesel every single afternoon from 3 till 7 p.m. on the Fan. You going to be okay coming back in studio after getting paid to spend 2 days on a golf course, bud?
Yeah, I might not do that.
That's fair.
I might just stay out there.
I was going to say, you might just run it back to the golf course. No reason. I like that. I respect it. Cole, my dude, appreciate you, big dog. Thanks for coming on. I know you got a haul. Be careful, brother.
Appreciate it.
You got it. Cole Bryson, Wire to Wire with Cole Bryson. Shocking, I know. And Diesel coming up from 3 to 7 this afternoon.
Over. Get that guy off the air.
I mean, just kind of dragging everybody down, right? Just dragging everybody down. All right. Coming up in the next hour of the show, we get the water cooler cheat sheet. We'll get into that. My dear friend, Lil Trista Crick, host of BetMGM Tonight, had an interesting take on Caitlin Clark being left off the women's Olympic roster. I would like to address that. We'll talk about Greg Berhalter's, once again, complete failure to be good at his job. All that and more is coming up. I wanted to make a joke about Lonzo being the opposite of Greg Berhalter. Like, Berhalter's bald, Lonzo's got good hair. Berhalter is frustratingly, consistently terrible. Lonzo nails everything. Greg's bad at his job. Lonzo's great at his. Nailed it!
The best team in college baseball, the Clemson Tigers, were swept out of the NCAA baseball super regionals with 11-10 extra innings loss to Florida. Aiden Knack gave up 5 runs on 4 hits and 4.1 innings of work after an ejection of Clemson first baseman Jack Crichton following a shoving match with a Florida player on a tough tag. Clemson coach Eric Backage was tossed from the game in the 13th inning. Best team, they're gone. The NBA Finals will head back to Dallas with the Boston Celtics in charge 2-0 after a 106-99 win over the Mavericks last night. Defensive superstar Drew Holiday led all Celtics with 26. Hey, you just heard him a second ago, or a couple seconds ago, or like 30 seconds ago. Tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. for a brand new local show, Wire to Wire with Cole Bryson and Diesel. They get you up to date on the latest local and national sports news. Great guests, great debate, all Wire to Wire. Hey, Rob, Raspberry Sounds.
This is why I love local news. I'd like to congratulate the Panthers for playing for their first Stanley Cup. That's pretty impressive. Y'all, the Cats got a chance to do something special here. They can go beat the Oilers. And Bryce Young's going to outperform Connor McDavid in this one.
Hey, there's just some kid working the graphics. He's not a sports guy.
100%.
It's his first job.
That is some producer in the background that's like, oh, Panthers, we got it.
It's the first thing that popped up and it's like, yeah, that's it. QC in the next break.
QC in the next break. Do we have prize picks today by chance? Do you know? No worries.
I do remember seeing more live.
Okay.
But, no.
Okay. So I guess we're done with that. That was a good little 2-week run. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let us continue. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. I am Rob Brown. That's the great one, Lonzo. We collectively are glad to have you here on the broadcast.
Did you just go Vanilla Ice? Is that what you did?
All right, stop. Collaborate, listen.
It looked more like Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go.
Go Ninja, go Ninja, go. Hey, go Ninja, go. And see, now when we go into the Fortress of Nerditude after the show, it's just going to be, hey, Alexa, play Vanilla Ice on shuffle. And it's going to be good.
Like anyone's heard more than 2 of his songs ever. It's Ninja Rap and Ice Ice Baby. I mean, can you think of any other? Have you ever heard the entire album? I have not. I didn't go out and purchase that. I was afraid Suge Knight would beat me up if I did it, so I didn't do it. They would get hung out by the ankles over a.
Let's see. Now I'm just curious. He had an album in 1989 called Hooked, and he's got a song on it called Get Your Ass Up. And now I just want to go find 1989's Hooked by Vanilla Ice and see if I do indeed get hooked. Why not? Why not a little Vanilla Ice talk here on the Rob Brown Show? Again, peak off season, baby. Welcome to it.
By the way, I watched Eminem's Houdini video like a couple of days ago. It's not bad. He's very offensive.
I'm
Rob.
not. I mean, I'm a fan. All right. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to get to. Of course, it is 7:02 and a half in the morning, which means you are 57 and a half minutes away from having to get to work and get clocked in. And when you do, I know what's going to happen. You're going to walk down the hall and you're going to go find Tanner. Tanner's the boss's kid. He doesn't really have a job other than just be there, right? But you have found out Tanner's an okay guy, all right? He's just taking advantage of an opportunity that's been given to him. Tanner's a good dude. Tanner, big basketball guy, loves basketball. So you're going to go grab Tanner, who doesn't really have a department that he works in. He's just there. He just kind of floats around and does whatever needs to get done. And you're going to walk down the hallway, and Tanner's going to be like, yo, I know a spot we can go hang out. My dad won't find us. We can talk some sports, right? And you're going to do that. And in order to talk sports with Tanner, talking sports with Tanner on a Monday morning, you're going to need to know what's going on in the world of sports. And if you need to know what's going on in the world of sports, ladies and gentlemen, you need this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying, first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
I can't do the thing, the eyes. I can't. I just end up looking like I'm real high. Can't do it.
I have the hair for it, so if I throw the hat on, I can do it.
We need to get you an Undertaker hat. I feel like you pull it off.
Around Halloween, yeah, that's the right
sure.
holiday. They have those at one of the Halloween shops, and I've looked at it several times. But I
think
probably
you should
would
just
wear it like once, and I don't want to pay like $30-something for it.
No, I think you just need to work it into the wardrobe. I think it just needs to be a thing you do. You just need to be that hat guy.
If I was going to do that, I'd be wearing a cowboy hat that I spent like $90
should.
on, and
You
I've
should. It
only
was good
worn
luck.
like 3 times.
It's good luck. You should. That should be a once a week thing for you. Water cooler cheat sheet, top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports with Tanner this morning. Let us begin with item numero uno. Defense wins championships. You've heard that many times. And there's a reason that you've heard it many times. It's because it's true. And right now, it may or may not to shock you to learn that the best defensive team in the NBA postseason is the Boston Celtics. They have been net ranked number 1 all postseason, and they did it again last night. This is a game number 2, a game that the Celtics won 105-98 and put the Dallas Mavericks in a 2-0 hole. This is a game that Dallas should have won. Let's just call a spade a spade. This is a game that Dallas should have won. They had no reason to lose this basketball game. Boston shot 45%. Boston shot less than 26% from 3. Boston did not do anything to excel over the Mavericks. In fact, if anything, Dallas had one of their worst performances in this postseason so far. They were remarkably average in this contest. And yet, the Boston Celtics still got it done. Why? Because on their worst shooting night in the playoffs, they also forced Dallas to have one of their worst shooting nights in the playoff. Dallas was 38 of 80. They shot less than 48% from the floor. Dallas was 6 of 26 from behind the arc. To put that into a little more important context, Luka was 4 of 9 from behind the arc. PJ Washington was 1 of 5. Jones Jr., 0 of 3. Gafford, 0 of 0. Irving, 0 of 3. Kleber, 0 of 2. 0 of 3 for Green off the bench. You can't shoot the ball, you can't win. If you can't put the brown thing in the round thing, you can't win NBA basketball games. Sorry about your luck. And that's basically what this game came down to. The Boston Celtics defense was aggressive. Luka had a 32, 11, and 11 triple-double last night, but there was not another Dallas Maverick that could pitch in when they needed him to. Kyrie had 16 on the night, on 7 of 18 shooting, 0 of 3 from behind the arc. He had a total of 2 boards, 6 assists, and a pair of turnovers to go with it. Kyrie Irving has not showed up in this series so far. Now, I think Lonzo's right. I think Kyrie Irving is going to show up in this series once this series gets back to Dallas. He will show up for a game. But at this point, does anybody have any belief that he's going to show up for more than a game? And if he does show up for 2, do you have a thought that it's not playing in Boston and those fans being bloodthirsty that is kind of taking Kyrie a little bit out of this series so far? Because it certainly feels that way for me. And because it feels that way for me right now, I said after game 1, I think this series is over. I think Dallas is at best winning 1 game, and it'll happen at home. They'll get one of the 2 at the house, and then they'll drop the other one and go back to Boston down 3-1, and Boston will finish this in game 5. That's the way this series is going to go, I am comfortable saying at this point. Boston's defense last night was NBA championship caliber. They put it on display. Dallas got a 32-point triple-double. You cannot lose when your star has a 32-point, 11 and 11 triple-double. And yet, even though Dallas was in this game, was there any point down the stretch, even when Dallas cut it back? Dallas cut it to 5. Dallas could have cut it down to 3 when they had who was it that broke away? Was it PJ Washington that broke away and just got rim-rocked by Derek White?
You need to point out that the game was back and forth and tied for a good portion of the first half.
And yet, for the reasons that I said this was going to be a Boston win, which is they're just deeper and they're just better off the bench.
So let me throw something. I'm not trying to fight because I don't know why you just want to fight today. I want to
because I embrace debate, Lonzo.
I want to be peaceful.
Embrace debate.
I want to do air hugs for the next.
Do you want to do a real hug?
3 hours. I mean, we can, but not on camera.
People pay extra for that.
Is it? They should, and they will, or it ain't happening. Is it possible that maybe Dallas played some defense too, and that's why Boston was struggling? Is that possible? Maybe give Dallas a little credit there for the defense they were playing.
I mean, they were fine. They were
okay.
They played like a team that has made the NBA Finals. Sure, they played like a team that played that has played its way to the NBA Finals. This was
a defensive game that, unfortunately or fortunately, the refs let them play, let them beat each other up a little bit. and you're leaving out one really important thing that could affect the next game, and I'm sure we'll get to it, a certain injury.
Luka went from
talk about
questionable
him?
before the game. No?
Talking about Porzingis.
Oh, Kristaps did look a little beat up towards the end of that
So there's
contest.
supposedly, possibly, maybe MRI today.
Kristaps in this contest played 23 minutes, was 4 of 7 from the field, 0 of 3 from deep, hit 4 from the stripe, had another pair of blocks and just 4 boards on the game. I will 100% agree with you that that's a big loss. But I also don't think we downplay the fact, and I've been giving this guy hell, just so we're clear. He deserves some flowers. Al Horford played 28 minutes and grabbed 7 rebounds, had a couple of assists and a steal in this one. Al Horford is the guy that has been playing for this Boston team to get them to the finals, right? Like I know that I included, a lot of folks have busted up on Beantown for the fact that they really kind of had a cakewalk to the finals. They didn't have Jimmy Butler playing for Miami. Cleveland lost Spida 2 games in. Tyrese Halliburton went down 2 games in against the Pacers. They really have had a cakewalk through to the NBA Finals. But I also do think it is important that we point out that while they have had a cakewalk, because the best players for all 3 teams that they played on the way to the finals were at the most limited and at the least limited and at the most missed the series entirely, they also didn't have Porzingis out there. And Porzingis obviously came out, had a stellar game 1, came out, had an okay game 2, and like Lonzo pointed out, was dinged up, was beaten up. I would also say, did you see Luka's legs before the game started? Because dude had like a NASA spacesuit amount of tech wrapped around him. And he played exceptionally well. But does he hold up? Especially when Boston's defense has been wildly aggressive. At this point, even going to game 3, even going back to Dallas, even going back to their home court, shooting on the rims they're used to shooting on, if I'm Boston, I'm going, hey, I want to double team on Luka Doncic every time he does everything. I want to double team on it until somebody else does anything. We are doubling up Luka Doncic until he breaks or someone else helps him out, because right now nobody else is. All right, we'll come back to that a little bit later in the show. Let's get to item number 2 on the water cooler cheat sheet. Clemson's baseball season came to its conclusion yesterday, swept out of the Super Regionals with an 11-10 loss to the mighty Gators of Florida. This game got dramatic down towards the end. You had Jack Crichton get tossed from the game in the 2nd inning. Crichton hit a little blooper that was picked up by Jacques Caglianone, which, by the way, that man's name is Caglianone, and I'm tired of everybody saying it incorrectly, all right?
I don't know if you're right or not.
Little comebacker to Jacques. Jacques picked up the rock and rocked over and got into it on a hard tag on the first baseman.
Okay, I'm going to blame the runner on this, because he lowers his shoulder and he gets in there on the pit. It was a pitcher, right, who tagged him?
Yes.
He gets in there, so I think he was doing what Clemson is known for and instigating.
I think if I have a grown-ass man barreling down and I know that the intention he has is to touch me, yeah, I'm dropping the shoulder. I don't have I didn't have an issue with the play.
See, I never played baseball competitively, just in a neighborhood, so I don't know. So you literally would have done that. You would have lowered your shoulder and went into that.
If that man is coming at me the way, Jacques was not coming glove out to apply a tag. That man was still fumbling, trying to contain the baseball, which means the likelihood that he is going to stop momentum before he gets into me is real low. Yeah, I'm dropping the shoulder. And if he tags me and I whiff, he tags me and I whiff.
I don't see any fumbling.
Either way,
he's definitely much bigger than the runner.
He's stout. He is stout. Either way, I think that the decision to toss Crichton was a little bit dramatic. Like, I know the bench is cleared, and it was ruled later. The reason that Crichton got tossed was because after he had made his way through, he came back to the conversation. He came back to the showdown, and basically had he just continued on and left, they wouldn't have tossed him. I still think it's a soft ejection.
We don't know what he
I think
said,
you
though.
changed the game.
We don't know what he said, because sometimes you may just be standing there and not do anything and say something, and that's why you really get tossed.
I mean, maybe. I still think in that moment in a postseason game, it's a weak ejection. Of course, you had the ejections of Eric Backage and a couple of others late in the contest in the 13th inning. We had Cole Bryson come on. He was there, talked about it with us in the last segment of the show. If you missed that, you can go to thefanupstate.com, go to the podcast section, drop it down, and listen to Cole and I chat about it. We will have John Blau of the Post and Courier, who covers Clemson athletics, join us in about an hour and a half, and we'll get his opinion on this as well. Either way, I genuinely feel like Clemson in this game absolutely had a win ahead of them. But I think once it got to the point that Clemson had back-to-back 2-run innings in the 5th and 6th, I think Clemson got caught up in the emotion of the game. And if you go back to last week, you will recall that one of the things I said, if you are Clemson, you cannot do is get caught up in the emotion of this game, because Florida is a team that wants you in the emotion. They do an excellent job, a better job than most. It is probably the one reason that they are here at all. They do a better job than most at either eliminating the emotion or channeling the emotion. They are Eddie Guerrero. They are going to get you up in your feels, and then once you're in your feels, they are going to make you do things that are going to get you in trouble, and they're going to take full advantage of that. They dropped the shimmy on Clemson, and they dropped Clemson out of the tourney. We will talk a little bit about this more in the next hour when John Blau stops by.
How'd that feel after losing all the weight? It feels a little bit better,
feels a little better. Little loose in the shoulders.
A little less
right?
things moving when you do that.
It's less of a shimmy now. I mean, it's still a shimmy, but it's less. It's easier to stop it now. You know, you stop and then it just stops.
As opposed to gravity causing things to continue. Yes.
Item number 3. Hey, some folks big mad about this. Big mad about this. Last night I got the chance to go on the the Golden Boot, which is an LSU pod on a podcast network that I have begun listening to. And the fellows that had me on, I was nominated by our boy Carter Bryant. Been a minute since we heard from Carter. We're going to get Carter up in here. I was talking with them, and they were like hype on this story. The NCAA will officially allow commercial sponsor advertisements on football fields for regular season games across all 3 divisions. The NCAA Playing Rules Oversight Panel approved the recommendation from the Football Rules Committee, which allows for corporate advertisements to be placed in 3 spots on the field. A single advertisement centered on the 50-yard line, along with no more than 2 smaller flanking advertisements elsewhere on the field. It can be done on a game-by-game basis, or it can be done for the entire season. So now, when you tune in to a college football game starting this fall, there is a definite chance, for sure this is going to happen at just about every school, that you will be greeted with a big old fat ad right there on the 50 and likely on the 20s on both ends.
Hey, look out the window, person, and see that rocking chair and go out and sit on it and just look at the grass grow, because your college football game is no longer what it used to be.
No, it just it very much is. It's the exact same game.
No, I'm being sarcastic for those people who just can't. I mean, advertise. I mean, is it going to cause the play on the field to be different? It's not like they're physically going to. I mean, come on.
These 2 fellas that I did this pod with last night were big mad. They were mad about the logos on the field, and they were mad about the logos on the jersey. They were both like, oh, it's supposed to be a sport, a prestigious, clean sport. And I'm like, fellas.
Please tell me they talk Cajun, because that's what I hear in my head. 2 Cajun guys. And
no, couple of young cats out of
Okay,
Baton
all right.
Rouge, Louisiana.
All right.
But they were like, oh, it's supposed to be, we're supposed to watch it. And it's like, we're not supposed to be bombarded with ads like we are in the NFL. And I'm like, dude, you always have been. It's just now they're going to be more obvious than before. So we got to the conversation. If you're Clemson, if you're South Carolina, what business should have their logo at the 50? What business is most representative that should get logos at the 50? Like, the immediate thought is Bojangles is jumping all
that's-
over this, right?
I mean, for South Carolina, for sure. And for Clemson, it would be the where's that place where you go get rescue dogs from or cats? Oh yeah, it's called the Pound, but it's called something else. Humane Society. It should be the Humane Society. Big old nice little right out there on the field. You're welcome.
Send all hate mail courtesy of Lonzo and leave my name the hell off it.
25 Garlington Road. Make sure you put it in a nice envelope and lick it.
I thought it generally sucked.
When we come back here in just a minute, let's get to this. Well, I'm going to save the Caitlin Clark thing for another few minutes. We got a few more things. We got some soccer we got to get into. We do have some football we need to get into. It's going to be busy. It's the Rob Brown Show. It's the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, live read right here. We're coming back. Stay right there for me, please, and thank you. right, dudes and dudettes, we're back. Greg, what the boat was that? Yeah, that's we're gonna. Yeah, Steven, we're getting to that. That was terrible. That was embarrassing. It's the first time in a while I've been embarrassed by the soccer team.
Sent you a video.
Ooh. Yeah, I
was thinking of you yesterday when I saw that.
There's nothing that infuriates me more in a first-person shooter than people who dolphin dive when they're shooting. And I'm like, that's got to get, like, you can't do that. At least there needs to be like a big negative penalty to accuracy if you are flopping around like a fish while you're shooting.
What about the slide, though? Slides are cool.
The slide's dope. And like, so like, for instance, if you're sliding backwards, which is a thing you could do with a shotgun, accuracy's fine on that. But if you're dropping back with a precision rifle, like the likelihood you're pulling that shot off is very low.
What if you do, though?
Then I'm going to get real mad, throw my controller, and say the game's stupid. We're going to probably bring this up a couple of times. Couple haters on the radio show today. Are you a Mina Kimes guy? I like Mina Kimes a lot.
It's all right.
I like Mina.
I don't hate her. I don't love her. She's
That's
all
fair.
right.
That's fair. I love Mina Kimes. Honestly, I think Mina Kimes is one of the best things the four-letter has going right now. Legitimately. I think in an age where I got to listen to Screamin' A give his BS hot takes all of the time, Mina Kimes is one of the few people on that network that actually break down a game.
She's no L. Duncan, though.
I like Elle Duncan a lot, too. Elle, I say, is more of a host and moderator than necessarily an opinions gal, but I do like Elle a lot.
So you haven't watched her. She has a half-hour show where she's okay. You have to check that out.
Honestly, I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah. I think it's usually on ESPN2.
Okay. I will check it out because I do like Elle. I do like Elle a lot. But I think Mina Kimes, as far as breaking down the numbers go, as far as breaking down the game, and if you follow me, if you follow the way I do radio, I would much rather talk about the game than the hot takes. It's just me. It's just my style. Some of you like it, some of you don't. That's okay. Mina Kimes was on ESPN talking about the Panthers. Now, I'm not going to say anything else to set up this clip. I'm just going to play it, and let's all react.
How do they avoid a disaster for this upcoming season?
Yeah, the Panthers offense struggled for so many reasons. It's hard to point to just one thing, but something that really struck out to me watching them, Kevin, last season, nobody was open. If you take out throws under 10 yards, just 17% of Bryce Young's targets went to receivers that NGS classifies as open, which was dead last in the NFL. By comparison, the San Francisco 49ers, who ranked first, that figure was 34%, nearly twice as many targets to open players. So what did the Panthers do? They go out and trade for Deontay Johnson, who is an elite route runner and separator, and then they draft Xavier Legette, who gives you speed. To me, those two additions will go a long way towards addressing what I believe was the single biggest problem with the Panthers offense last season.
There's a ton of positivity in Panthers camp. Of course, you get that during mini camp. You get that during OTAs before you go for the break, and then you get ready for the summer
All right,
camp.
yeah. Whatever, guy. I'm here for Mina. All right, I'm here for Mina. Thank you, Mina. Thank you for saying the thing I've been saying for months now. Thank you. I appreciate Mina Kimes giving voice on the national stage to a Rob Brown take that has been echoing into the ether since January. Thank you, Mina, because you're right. You're right. I continue to see, and again, before I even say that sentence, let me say this one. I am not guaranteeing anything about Bryce Young. I am not placing him on a pedestal. I'm not saying he's a future Hall of Famer. I'm not saying that the guy's ever going to win a Lombardi anywhere that he goes. What I am saying is no one has seen enough out of Bryce Young to say he's not those things. And yet, I continue to see people say he's not those things. Mina Kimes gave you the numbers on something I have already given you the numbers for. Mina Kimes just had a take on something I have had a take about many, many times. Last year, Bryce Young's accuracy was as good as anyone's in the league. That's the reason they drafted him. He had the highest accurate passing rate of anybody in the game when he had a window to throw to. Higher than anybody. Higher than Mahomes, higher than Jackson, higher than Allen. The problem is he had an open pass rate of 17%. That means for every 5 times that the Panthers ran a pass play, one of those times did he have an open wide receiver. 1 out of 5. I don't care if he's 9 foot freaking 14. I don't care. You have 1 out of 5 open receivers. I don't care who the hell is back there. They're gonna look bad. That's just part of the game. And there's nothing that being 6'9" changes about that. Not at all. There is nothing that height or weight or body language or anything else changes about the fact that 20% of the time, actually not even 20, I don't want to make it worse. 17% of the time did Bryce Young have a receiver that was 17%. 17%. If any of you, it's 17% in baseball. If you're hitting the ball 17% of the time, you're cut. You're not playing Major League Baseball. And that is the sport that we give the most leeway to guys who can't do it well. If you hit the ball 17% of the time, you're off the team. If you're a soccer player and you have an open look at the window and you hit 17% of the time, you're out of the game. If you're a basketball player that shoots 17% of the time, you're not getting picked up for the local Y squad 17% of the time. But that is what BY was up against last year. And still, I hear he's too short. Sure. I'm sorry if having a good and true and data-driven take isn't your cup of tea. If you would rather just wrap your emotions up in, I think he's too short, therefore he's bad, then have your bad take. I'm good with that. My good take, backed up by a very good football brain person in Mina Kimes, has just been confirmed.
So you're saying there's no takes out there where other people are saying that he's challenged, vertically challenged, and that's the reason why the lanes aren't open?
Yeah, that's a bad take.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a bad take.
Because it's not your
I
take?
have a question. If Bryce Young's holding the ball, how the hell does that stop somebody from getting open? That has no impact on it.
The thing is, he doesn't see that they're open because he can't see over
They're
the line.
not open. This isn't a subjective measurement. This is an objective measurement. There is a data point that we say this is open and this is not. You are or you aren't.
Do you know who else is too short to be a quarterback in the NFL? Me. And when I think about that and how much shorter he is than me, that has to be a detriment. It has to be a problem. But we'll see if Dave Canales fixes it. I hope he does, because then we won't fight about this anymore, and I can celebrate the Panthers actually winning games.
You don't get to celebrate if Bryce Young kills it.
You
don't get to celebrate.
By the way, you don't tell me what to do.
You don't get to celebrate.
You don't tell me what to do.
You are a detractor.
I am a fan.
You are.
That's the difference. I'm a fan.
You are,
and
a
like
Sith.
Other fans, I'm upset. I'm Sith.
You're a Sith to Bryce's Jedi. I've been on this Jedi kick for like 3 days after Friday, dude.
That's weird.
I haven't been able to shake it.
And you still ain't watched it yet?
No, I watched the Acolyte.
Okay.
I did watch it.
All right. Okay.
It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
It's not
It's
great.
okay.
It's right in the middle somewhere. Yeah.
It's okay.
It could get better.
And it could get way worse.
It could.
It's okay. I'm not like Like, it's okay.
But here's the thing: Yode's the man.
No, it's not.
Everyone's making fun of Yode. There are Yode memes everywhere.
Yode?
I think that's his name, Yode.
Jord, wasn't it? Isn't it Jord?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that guy sucks.
It doesn't matter.
That guy sucked. I hated that guy. Hey, when we come back, let's talk about this Caitlin Clark Olympic roster fight, shall we? We shall on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
New life.
All right, guys, one more live when we're back. Stay right there, please, and thank you. show continues. It's the Fan Upstate. Robin Lonzo with you. So this became a bit of a controversy with a capital C attached to it over the weekend. The United States women's national basketball team that will be competing in the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris, France, was announced this weekend. And there was some controversy because left off of the team was not just Caitlin Clark, but every rookie. In fact, looking up and down the 5-on-5 list, there are no rookies. In fact, the majority of players on this roster, the majority of the players on this roster are 25 or older. There's a couple of younger players, like second and third year WNBAers that are out there. But obviously the controversy was about leaving Caitlin Clark off of the roster for the Olympics. Caitlin Clark, of course, you've heard all of it. We don't have to go through the accolades and the achievements of one Caitlin Clark. Now, Lil Trista Crick, host of BetMGM Tonight, which you can hear on the station every single weeknight from 7 until 11 p.m., had a hot take on this. She put this up on her Instagram, and I listened to it, and I got to introduce Trista to the show because I was curious as to the reaction because I have the same take as Trista, but for a different reason. Here's what Trista Crick had to say.
If we wanted to make the casual newbies absolutely furious, we would do this. Team USA roster just got released. Expected to leave Caitlin Clark off the roster. New women's basketball fans who just got interested in the sport a couple days before the Olympics start and be like, oh, is Caitlin Clark on the roster? And the answer is going to be no. So let's go down the list. Kelsey Plum, you cannot leave off. Jewel Lloyd, definitely you cannot leave off. Kalia Copper, not even the same position, cannot leave her off. Jackie Young, cannot leave her off. Sabrina Ionescu, cannot leave her off. Chelsea Gray, because she's been injured. But then you got a 41-year-old Diana Taurasi on the roster. Dusty Bones, why is she still here? Why is she around? If you're trying to grow the game of women's basketball, you would not do this. You would not leave Caitlin Clark off of the Paris Olympic roster if you are trying to grow the sport. If Caitlin Clark was on this roster, the ratings would be bigger than the men's event. Probably bigger than Team USA gymnastics. But no, let's just roll out UConn legend Diana Taurasi.
Okay. I like this take. I agree with the take. I don't necessarily agree with the backdrop of it. Not the backdrop. I don't necessarily agree with Trista's core reason for it, though I think she is right. I agree that putting Diana Taurasi in over, and Diana Taurasi's having a good season. She's 41 years old. She's still having a good season.
She'll also beat somebody up if they didn't put her on the team.
So here's my problem.
She looks really mean. She really does.
Diana Taurasi's she's a killer. Yeah. She's a killer for sure. And there is a place for that on a roster. In international play. There's this, if you haven't heard the story before, on the Kobe documentary that dropped a couple of years back, there's this real interesting story told from the perspective of Dwayne Wade and LeBron James on that last run with Kobe, where they were playing Spain. And Spain with Paul Gasol, who was at the time on the Lakers with Kobe Bryant, Spain was supposed to be our big conversation. They had a good team built around Paul Gasol. And LeBron tells the story about how before that game started, Kobe looked at the team and said, I'm going to tell y'all what play they're going to start. They're going to start with a double pick. Paul Gasol is going to set the second pick. The goal is going to be to get the ball on the wing and then have a mismatch on Gasol, and Gasol rolls to the basket. That's going to be what they try to set up. And LeBron said, Kobe said, I'm going to run through his chest. I'm going to run right through his chest. And then LeBron did. I mean, he walloped Paul Gasol, who was his own teammate. in the NBA at the time.
Kobe did.
Kobe did, correct. Paul Gasol got trained by Kobe Bryant. There's space for that on the roster because LeBron said in that moment we were all like, oh, and we all ate off that, right? Like if winning this gold medal matters so much to Kobe Bryant that he is willing to physically assault a guy that in 2 weeks he's got to be back in training camp with to share that locker room. If he's willing to do that to his own teammate, then we should all have them. And they did. And that team finally got the U.S. back to where they should be on the gold medal platform. There is room for that. There is room for it. Here's my problem. There's not room for it when you sacrifice the best player you can bring to the Paris Olympics. And Caitlin Clark's on that list. And I know people are looking and they're going, wait a minute, Rob, she just scored 30 points. Sure. But like she's been putting up 11s and 12s in the WNBA. And I don't disagree. But this is where looking at the context of a player matters. She is on a crappy basketball team.
Okay,
the worst in the league.
She's the only rookie that should be on.
Yes.
She's the only one. So none of the other ones
Correct.
should be on there.
The only other one that I would put on there is Cameron Brink, but Cameron Brink already committed to the 3-on-3 team. She is going to the Olympics, but on the 3-on-3 squad.
All right. So again, because they didn't put any rookies on, then I don't have a problem with it.
I do.
So if they had picked another rookie over her, I would have a problem. The other thing, and I'm not trying to be funny here, maybe they don't want to risk an international incident because if the Olympians beat her up the way her home country beats her up, then that's a problem.
Here's the problem. I'll tell you exactly why that won't happen. And this is why context of the situation freaking matters. Caitlin Clark is on a bad Fever team. Okay? It's a bad team. And because they're on a bad team, if you have a great player on a bad team, and I don't like taking this team down, right? But let's be clear. Aaliyah Boston, who I love, I adore as a basketball player, she's not been good for the Fever, right? So if the expectations are all on Caitlin Clark, why haven't we been dragging Aaliyah Boston? Because there's nobody else on that team around them that can do anything. So if you're a defense, beating the Indiana Fever is not that difficult to do. You remove Boston or Clark. And honestly, without Clark, Boston can't really do anything. Watch any Caitlin. You go back to the last game. The one where Caitlin Clark just put up a 30-burger. Do you know why? It was because Caitlin Clark wasn't getting double and triple teamed by the Mystics, the worst team in the NBA. Would you look at that? They played the worst team, a team that has a roster worse than theirs, and Caitlin Clark pops off for 30 in 30. Can't do that at the international level. Can't do that on this roster. On this roster, the international roster with A'ja Wilson, with Nafisa Collier, with Jewel Lloyd, with Chelsea Gray, all the players that Trista Crick just mentioned in her take, you can't box in one Caitlin Clark. You can't run, hey, if Caitlin Clark breathes on the basketball, I need 3 defenders on her, remove her, and the rest of the team stinks. There's too many talented players here. Caitlin Clark would put up a 30-burger a game on the international roster because you can't just solo Caitlin Clark, because if you do, Wilson or Plum or Stewart or Young are going to get 30 on you. So I understand. I love Diana Taurasi. She is one of not just my favorite not just women's basketball players. She's one of my favorite basketball players. She's one of my favorite talking heads. Every time that during the college season, they did the alt broadcast and it was Diana Taurasi joined by whoever, I was watching that broadcast because I love Diana Taurasi. She's a killer. I'm a big fan. But I want to win a gold medal. And I don't know what Diana Taurasi brings to this roster that Caitlin Clark does not. Diana Taurasi is getting you 20 a game in the WNBA. It's a good year. It's a good year. But leaving Caitlin Clark off this roster, one of the biggest scoring threats in the WNBA right now. If you dropped Caitlin Clark on the Las Vegas Aces right now, she'd be getting 30 a game. If you dropped her on the New York Liberty right now, she'd be getting 30 a game. The Fever, outside of Caitlin Clark, stink. They stink. They're real bad. Their coach, by the way, is right now under fire. And, I initially thought that it was going to be, I thought Christy Sides was getting beat up because everybody's going, oh, well, if Caitlin Clark's not scoring 30, the coach has got to go. And I thought, all right, well, I mean, again, she is coaching a real bad team, except for then I went and looked. And then I went and looked and I watched a couple more Fever games that I came to the realization that the Fever are doing nothing to help Caitlin Clark. They're letting her beat the crap out of her. There's nobody walking over and shoulder checking the players that are shoulder checking her. The offense is as bland and vanilla as I've ever seen an offense operate. And maybe that's because they just don't have the talent to do anything besides just run a standard pick and roll every time and we hope somebody comes open. I really thought this was just the new school fans mad Caitlin Clark's not getting her time in the sun. No, this offense is trash, bro. It's vanilla. It's basic. They're better than they are showing. And I think it is holding. Now, there was one more take. Cody Decker had this take. He and I butted heads on this. He said, Caitlin Clark needs a break. The women's college basketball season ended. The draft was, 5 days later, and the WNBA was playing 2 weeks after that. Caitlin Clark has not had a break from basketball since the beginning of last college season. And I said, that's fair. That's fine. But you know who gets to make that decision? Caitlin Clark, and only Caitlin Clark. If Caitlin Clark says being on the U.S. women's national team and playing in the 2024 Olympics matters to me, she should be on that damn roster. Because there's at least 4 players on that roster that Caitlin Clark is better than. And I will include Diana Taurasi in that mix. Trista Crick nailed that take. Now, I do not care about, scratch that. I obviously care about growing the women's game. That is why I have talked about it on this show. I have as many female voices on this show as I can muster up. I am a believer in growing the women's sports universe, for sure. But this is not about growing the women's game. This is about winning a damn gold medal. This is our sport. Baseball, I'm sorry, America, it's the world sport now, all right? Venezuela and Colombia and Brasilia, they're all putting together dominant baseball teams. That is why the MLB has such an international flavor.
So you're saying that the United States is going to lose the gold medal for women's basketball?
No. I'm saying they've made it harder on themselves to win it.
Okay, we'll see what the margins of victory are.
For the record, I don't care if we win every game by 40. It was still the wrong decision. It's still the wrong decision.
Okay, they didn't pick any rookies, and so I don't think there's an argument.
I do. Caitlin Clark's not a normal rookie. This is not a normal rookie. This is leaving LeBron James off because he's a rookie. No, you don't do that. You take the best players that we can muster to build the best roster that we can muster. And instead of sending Caitlin Clark, who you all know how dominant that player can be, we're sending 41-year-old Diana Taurasi to do what? To have a good feels burger on the way out. So Diana Taurasi, listen, I respect it. She's incredible. I'm a fan. She's a great player. But you are trying to build some warm fuzzies for Diana Taurasi. And even if we win every game by 30, you still left one of the best players in the game at home. Why? Because there's not a good reason for it. We don't want rookies on the team. That's dumb. Take the best players. I didn't think there's no players I'd replace with Angel Reese right now. Caitlin Clark, there's 4 for sure. The Caitlin Clark of sports flashes is Lonzo. Oh, I nailed that one. That was good. I like that one.
That means I shouldn't talk because I got left out, right?
Rookie!
The NBA Finals will head back to Dallas with I ain't got your rookie over here, boy. With the Boston Celtics in charge 2-0 after a 105-98 win over the Mavericks last night. Defensive superstar Jrue Holiday led all Celtics with 26, and Jaylen Brown had 21. Luka Doncic went 32, 11, and 11 for a triple-double in the loss. Game 3 is on Wednesday night because they're making it last forever. Back to the losers column, according to Rob Brown, for the Atlanta Braves, who fell to a 35-28 and an 8-5 loss to Washington. Rookie Hudson Waldrop took the L in his debut after giving up 7 earned runs in just 3.2 innings. Tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. where they actually proofread for our brand new local show, Wire to Wire. Cole Bryson and Diesel get you up to date on the latest local and national sports news. Great guests, great debate, and a whole lot of fun. Wire to Wire. Don't you hate when you confuse yourself? I confused myself. I could just read the thing and it was fine. That was me. He didn't. He didn't, Stephen. That was me. I just, yeah. Although you could say he declared me a rookie, and because he declared me a rookie, I got in my head like a rookie would. Really what I did is I just looked away for a second and I lost my place. I mean, it's one of those things that, you know, if I do it really bad, it ain't gonna matter. I still have to do it.
What? For the Flash?
Yeah.
How did I sabotage that read?
You introduced me as Caitlin Clark.
The Caitlin Clark of Sports Flash.
Yeah, which that didn't mess me up. I looked away for a second and it came back to numbers, and the numbers didn't seem right when you were actually put in the record and not the score from the game on the Atlanta. That's the first time I read the Brave story. I read it earlier. I always practice before I go on. I looked away for a second. Maybe the powers that be will listen and go, what have I done? We don't need that anymore. That's just horrible. He's not going to, though. And come on, Steven, it wasn't that bad. It's not as bad as last week. There was one last week that was just really, really bad. I just wish it was football season so I could do nothing but Kansas City and Ohio State stories. Which is not what I did last year, but I could do it this year because, you know, probably should have got rid of that promo, but oh well, it's too late.
That's so funny.
Let's just try to figure out what it is. I mean,
it's a raft. It's like an inflatable
okay.
raft.
All right.
But dropping that over the Busta Rhymes rap is hysterical.
Who, him or me, Steven? No, you're right. It was him because it wasn't me because I don't yell. So. You know, in all reality, Bryce Young is short. So, I mean, there's no denying that. I say all reality. Like in Oompa Loompa land, he wouldn't be short. Which does exist.
Here we go. Hour number 3 of the Rob Brown radio program is in your ear holes. It is the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate. It is Rob Brown. It is the Great One Lonzo. It is wonderful to be with you. I have a question.
I was waiting for you to say it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
It's a beautiful morning.
Okay, well, except for those dark clouds.
Unless
out
you
there.
live somewhere way over there. It's good right here. We're blue skies, right?
Yeah, I think Simpsonville is that way. So Simpsonville probably getting wet right now.
It's a beautiful morning, unless you live in Simpsonville. It is kind of gross. It's not for us. It's blue skies here. So, bleep that region in particular, says the weather, I guess. So, yes, indeed. Pleasuring the ear holes, as Wesley just said. That might be the new tagline of the show.
Ill.
I have a question for you. If you were a head coach of a college football program,
I'd actually be making some money. That would be wicked. I could go buy some stuff.
wicked, says noted Bostonian Lonzo.
Wicked is not just a Northeast thing.
Wicked. Wicked is definitely a Boston thing.
No, I think the Wicked Witch of the West.
Right, but
was not
using
Boston.
wicked,
That's
like
not-
that's sick, bro.
Okay, so y'all can only be used in the South.
No, it's like saying A. If I say A, do you not just go Canada?
No, it depends unless
That's
you
Canada.
go
A,
A.
and then it's Jersey.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
No.
You
no.
just proved my own point.
Maybe to a certain degree.
Wicked.
Wicked is not exclusive to Boston. I don't care. Because Wicked back in the 80s was like cool or rad.
If you were from Boston.
Or no, we didn't know Boston existed.
Like if I say tubular, you're going Southern Cal, bro.
No,
Tubular.
I'm going Michelangelo.
Tubular. Who was okay? Anyway,
He was born in New York.
here's my question for you. If you were a college football head coach making wicked money, brah, to coach down at the Pack,
Bro.
and a guy entered the transfer portal and then came to you a few days later and went, changed my mind. Actually, I kind of do want to stay here, coach. I actually do want to remain on the team, coach. How you feel about that? Does it make you feel like that dude should be welcomed back with open arms? Or does it make you feel like you'd be like, no, dog, you wanted to go somewhere, so gone.
I think it depends on the quality of the player. And will he change his mind again? I mean, that's the thing. Is he allowed? Is he capable? I mean, within the rules to change his mind again? Or is he now yours if you say yes?
I mean, you can go into the portal and out of it as many times as you want to.
So I mean, if he was the starting quarterback and he decides he wants to come back and be the starting quarterback, probably, yeah, I'm okay with it.
Let me set it up for
If
you.
he's a third string guard, he's probably out.
Running back John Emery plays for the LSU Fighting Tigers. Start running back now. Go Tigers.
Where's the door?
Where the door? I pay $60 million. I'm gonna go on down to Destin, talk to them lovely ladies on the beat down in that door. I go Tigers. I need Ed Orgeron back in the game. We need Ed O back. College football needs Ed O. I don't care what he's doing. Ed O, quit perusing the MILFs of Destin and get back on a sideline, bro.
So
I need you.
Would he be better? Oh, so you just want him as a coach, not as like an analyst.
Whatever he wants to do.
Would you rather see him as an analyst or on a like a pregame show on a panel?
Yes. In fact, I want Ed Orgeron on a panel with like two other real young cats that just got out of the game. I need like 60-year-old Ed Orgeron and like two 22-year-old whiz kids. And I did. Yeah, man, like no cap. And Ed's like, I wear a cap every day. I go out at best in a real sunny down there. I put my cap on. If you go no cap, I'm going to get a sunburn. Go Tigers. Like I need that. Anyway, former head coach of the LSU Fighting Tigers, Ed Orgeron, ladies and gentlemen. Current head coach of the LSU Tigers, Brian Fireball Kelly, is welcoming back last year's starting running back, John Emery. Emery out of Destrehan, Louisiana, entered his name into the transfer portal back in April, has been in the transfer portal for a month and a half. Now, I have to make the assumption that John Emery, a former five-star running back, but one who did suffer a pretty brutal knee injury against Florida late last season, 7 games, just 121 yards for one of the most highly touted running back prospects in recent memory, but a guy that has over 1,000 yards on his career, 14 touchdowns on 213 carries. I got to assume he would have had some offers. If not from major D1 powers, he'd have got some offers from some Vandy's, some NC
So
States.
the injury has to come into play, but this is more than likely it was a money move.
Oh, I have no
maybe
doubt.
someone at the last minute came through at LSU, was like, hey, we got this over here.
Yep.
And he saw it was a better offer, so he decided to stay.
Yep. Or
People put in their 2 weeks sometimes at a job and decide they're going somewhere else. And sometimes they actually go there and they realize, I don't want to be here. And they go back and they ask their old boss, hey, man, I know I've only been gone like a couple of days. Could I come back? And a lot of times the bosses will go, yeah, come on.
of course.
Come on.
Of course. Unless what? Unless they found somebody to fill that job that's better than you.
Or they're really glad they're gone.
Or they dislike you entirely. So Brian Kelly says, yeah, come on back, big dog. We need you. LSU's running back room is thin right now. They have not done a wonderful job recruiting running backs down in the bayou.
Welcome back to the family.
Family. By the way, yesterday I was watching a little college baseball with the fellas, and I heard my new favorite baseball chirp. Guy throws like Hudson Waldrop got his first start for the Braves yesterday. Rookie hurler out of Florida. They brought him up because the Braves pitching staff is thin. And he came up and his first fastball was like 99 down the pipe. Dude took a cut, just whiffed on it. And a buddy of mine looks over and goes, that's a Louisiana pitch. And I was like, Louisiana pitch? He goes, yeah, it's a Bayou pitch. Like a Bayou pitch. He's like, yeah, man, that pitch went right by you. I was like, oh God, that's the thing I say now.
And see, I
despise it.
Did you notice I got it right away
when he called it a Louisiana pitch? I was like, what?
Because you immediately got offended because it's something derogatory.
No, I genuinely was confused
towards your home.
I mean, yes,
where all the kinfolk are.
Yes, but also I was like, a Louisiana, it's got some extra spice on it. Like I don't get it. No, it's a Bayou pitch. It went right by you. That's a great joke. Blah 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 blah. Whatever.
Was that a dad joke?
I would say it qualifies.
Okay.
I would say it qualifies.
All right.
So LSU's running back room is very, very thin. They don't have the depth that they've had in years gone by. And so basically John Emery was like, welcome back by Brian Kelly with open arms to make this happen. And my question is, if you were a coach, would you let it cap back? Because I saw a lot of LSU fans on the social media this weekend that were like, yo, bleep that guy. Right?
So when he scores some touchdowns for LSU, they're not going to cheer. They're going to continue to bleep him.
I mean, no, we're football fans.
We won, but forget that guy. Okay, whatever, dude.
Again, I think it's easy to toss these things around in the offseason. Like this cat put on display that at least for a while he wanted to be somewhere else. And it's real interesting because for those of you that have followed the show, there are two types of analogies that Rob Brown loves to put together. There's three types of analogies. There's food analogy, which is always a winner. There's relationship analogy, which is always a winner. And then there's professional analogy, which is always a winner.
Dude, that's three.
That's what I just said. I said three. I said two, and then I corrected to three.
Okay, I didn't hear the correction. I apologize.
Yeah, most people don't pay attention to me. It's fine.
What?
Yeah, exactly. So this is weird because this is a spot where the career analogy and the relationship analogy are both effective, but they are both very wildly opposite in terms of the way that your philosophy would lead you to a landing spot here. On one hand, if I look at it from a relationship perspective, I put a real emphasis on the P at the end of these words.
They're popping big time. So
I'm going to have to, because relation boat doesn't work the same way.
It doesn't. You're right.
In the relationship analogy, imagine you come home one day and your wife goes, hey, we're separating. I want to hit the dating market. I'd like to get out there. I'd like to look around. I'd like to see what's on the market today.
I don't want to imagine that.
Yeah, I know it's tragic, right? But imagine you get home from work one day and your wife goes, hey, I'm on the dating market. I'm on Tinder now. I just want to see what's out there. And then she's out there on Tinder and Bumble and Hinge or whatever for a month, 2 months. And then after she's out there working the open market, on Tinder and Hinge and Bumble. Maybe she goes on a couple of dates with some fellas. And then she comes home one day and she goes, I'm actually good here. I like this relationship.
Yeah,
I'm going to stick around.
I don't think that analogy works.
You don't think any of my analogies work?
No, in this case, that's if you think of it that way as a college coach,
It's brutal, right?
Yeah,
it's
is.
brutal. But then let's look at it from the career analogy. Let's say that you're doing a job and you finish a big project. And you finish that big project, and like most people should do, you look around and you go, let's test the job market. I wonder if I could get paid more money to do the same work elsewhere. I wonder if I could get more. Hell, I wonder if I could get more money to do less work elsewhere. And so you test the job market and you throw your name out there and you get a call from a big company. The Acme Co. calls you. Hey, John.
Selling them anvils.
This is Manager Bill from the Acme Co. We saw your name out there on LinkedIn, and we think you'd be a good fit. We'd like you to come try out. And you go and you go out and you meet the folks, and you're like, hey, this is really good. I like this job. I like the atmosphere. And so you go back to the boss and you go, hey, boss, I appreciate everything you've done for me here, but I'm putting in my 2 works because I've got another opportunity that I can't miss out on. And the boss goes, okay, I respect that. Or the boss goes, bleep you, pack your stuff and get out. You don't get your 2 weeks. Here's your severance. Bye-bye. Whatever. You go in, you throw out there, and then let's say you finally get the chance. Let's say the Acme Co's in another state, and so you take the trip up there. You've already accepted the gig, and you get up there, and what do? You listen to the Rob Brown philosophy, and you go check the toilet paper. And you go in there, and you find out, oh, no, it's single ply. I can see my hand. I can see my fingernails through the toilet paper. That's bad TP. That's bad bleep tickets. I can't work here. And so you go to John from Acme Co. and you go, hey, Manager John from Acme Co. I appreciate the offer, but now that I've had some time to think about it, I think I'm going to pass on this one. But thank you very much. And you go back. If you go back to the old boss, and the old boss hasn't found somebody to fill that job, and you go, boss, I made a mistake. I'd really actually like to stay here. Boss, maybe not the worst thing in the world, right? You go, okay, we do got a good workplace environment. We got a good work-life balance. Everything's good here. And they keep you on board. Do you have any holdups? Because I'm going to tell you right now, in category number 1, if the lady friend hits me with, hey, yo, I'm going to test the dating market for a couple of weeks, I'll let you know if I decide to stick around. My response would be like, yeah, you. Get out of here. Absolutely not. But if I had somebody that came in here and was an executive producer and got offered X dollars and they decided, yeah, I'm going to go do that thing. And then they come back 2 weeks later and they go, Rob, I've made a mistake. You are obviously the greatest coworker that I've ever had the privilege of sharing the radio with. And I would like to stay on board. Unless I found somebody better, I'd probably go, yep, you're good, man. Come on back. No problem.
That's an unrealistic analogy because of the money part.
I mean, it is radio, but you get the point. You get the point. It's more for the purposes of the metaphor. Anyway, the point here is John Emery comes back.
Would you take him back?
Honestly, it depends on the situation, right? If they hit me on the way out with the you're cool, I'm out. Nah, I'd probably be like, unless I was the cool one, then I'd be like, all right, you're all right with me. Right?
Yeah, everybody else would just have to deal with it. They
Yeah.
have to be more forgiving.
Correct. I don't know. It depends on the situation. I'll tell you right now, if somebody bailed and let's say I just plugged somebody else into that spot and that somebody else was hitting all the metrics, we were winning awards, social media game was popping off, whatever, I'd be like, nah, I'm sorry, dude. Like, you blew it. You had a shot. You bailed on me. Whatever.
I'm not liking where this is going.
Are you planning on leaving?
No.
Then don't worry about it.
I'm glad it's break time.
Then don't worry. I think it would depend on the circumstances. But here's what I will say. The LSU fans were losing their mind. Oh, if you don't want to be a Tiger, if you want to be here, then screw him. He can walk. And I don't care if he doesn't get a scholarship offer somewhere else. And that's all well and good. But I would say One of the most important things a college football fan can do right now is to shift the mentality to believe that a football player, much like we do in the NFL, is a football player, not a tiger, not a gamecock, not a tiger, not a knoll, not a gator, not a husker, not a chief, not a buckeye. He's just a guy who wants to play football, because that's where you are now. This cat, John Emery, went in the portal. He did not get any of the offers he thought he was going to get, or LSU put together a better offer than he thought he was going to get, and it made sense for him to come back. I think if you look at that cat as just a football player instead of a LSU Tiger, but a guy who just happened to believe that LSU provided him the best opportunity to play football and make a life for himself out of it, you're going to be a lot happier when that cat finds the end zone for you coming up this fall when football starts in 90 days, whatever it is, however many days it is. I'm trying not to look because it's going to make me feel a certain way. So if a guy was going to transfer out and then he came back a month and a half later and said, I changed my mind, I want back in, are you good with that? Or would you go, no, you're not a lifer, get the hell out? Where do you fall on it? Renewal by Anderson to the Carolinas fan phone, 844-326-3663. Text us on the text line, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N. We will read them on the air. Got a couple of texts about the Caitlin Clark story. We'll come back to that here in just a few minutes and more. It's the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate. Ooh, we have a Texas man story.
Do they have those?
We do now.
Okay.
Mitchell Vest, age 60. Stream, I'm going to want you to chime in on this one. Pled guilty to stealing merchandise from antique stores around Harris County. Mitchell Vest, the 60-year-old, stole at least 60 different items by wearing kilts into antique stores and placing the merchandise in a place that you would need to wear a kilt to make it accessible on the fly. Apparently, this man was going into antique stores, shoving small valuables into his backside while wearing a kilt, and then exiting the stores and smuggling those items out. Here's my favorite part of the story. He was stealing less than $200 per robbery. What $200 item is worth that?
I'm going to go with zero, Rob.
I'm going to go with zero, Lonzo. He is accused of stealing an antique bottle opener and a tobacco tent can by, quote, placing them into his anus under his green kilt, then returning the items to the shelf after being caught.
I'm glad you said quote, because,
it's a direct quote.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you where this police department's going to get in trouble. They said placing the items into his anus under his green skirt.
Oh, no. That's not.
The Scots are going to be real mad. I got to work on my Scottish accent.
Yeah, Odie keeps getting accused of not actually being from Ireland, and that his accent is.
He does a wonderful job of staying in character.
Well, what I said is, man, I hope that's true. I hope you've been fooling us all along, because what a troll that would be.
It would be the greatest prank in the history of this building.
I'd only be slightly hurt. I'd be more impressed.
I was gonna say you might be hurt, but you'd be hurt in a still pretty good kind of way.
Here's the thing: his American accents are so bad. There's no way.
He's faking the fake.
Oh, he could. Wow. So does the dude with the antique thing, is he resale or is this just to decorate his house?
No, I'm just
I mean, I'm just curious.
In both instances, the soiled merchandise valued at a combined $204 had to be thrown away due to having remnants on them.
Okay, fecal matter.
Yes.
Okay.
They wrote, quote, due to feces on them in the investigation report.
All right. Because of this, I forgot what we talked about in the last segment. Do you remember?
No. LSU's transfer kid.
Okay, that's what. Okay. Because I just, what makes you think? Okay, man, I'm desperate. I'm just gonna stick it
I
in my
need
butt.
$200 worth of merch.
Yeah, I'm just gonna.
I know how to make this happen.
Yeah,
Short segment here. We got John Blau of the Post and Courier coming up in the next segment to talk about Clemson's super regional sweep at the hands of the Mighty Gators of Florida. That's coming up next. So let's get to a couple of texts that you guys have sent in so far on the radio program. Texas said, Rob, don't forget that Caitlin Clark missed training camp because of the Final Four. Obviously not her fault, but that's a huge chance to build chemistry with the team. You're not wrong, and that may have had something to do with it, for sure. But I would also argue that while building chemistry is important, this team is going to be together for like almost 2 weeks, I think, or a week and a half before they go to Paris, and then they are together in Paris. I will tell you right now, I believe this to be true. You want to know what the number one way to build chemistry with someone is? Go on a trip. Go somewhere. Doesn't matter. Short trip, long trip, road trip, flight trip, doesn't matter. Just go on a trip with somebody, because at that point, you have to work together. You've got to be on the same team. It's not an option. So I'm intrigued by that. I'm intrigued by that because the chemistry might be a little bit lacking for sure. But I would also make the argument that she's still really good. And she was out there winning in college. No, she didn't win a national championship, but she didn't win a natty. Why? Because Dawn Staley built a juggernaut in Columbia that took her down. It took a juggernaut, a team that beat everybody else relatively convincingly down the stretch to knock out Caitlin Clark, who was, I'm not going to say by herself on that team, but pretty damn close to it. So I get it. And it's not, that is probably a big part of it. But it's still not enough to me. Texture said, I think something to consider with Clark is that she'd been working in her third offensive system since April with new teammates. She typically did, and I lost the second half of that text, but I get what you're saying. You are correct. Caitlin Clark had to play at Iowa. She's had to play at Indiana. She's had to learn some different roles within that Fever offense. And that is, do you know who else on Team USA has to play a different offense when they play international ball? All of them. Every one of them. And yes, I understand that Caitlin Clark has been rotating in and around different spots since her days at Iowa and then going into the league, for sure. But one of the things that has made Caitlin Clark is the basketball IQ. That's a real thing. It's the basketball IQ. If there's one player I would trust to be able to pick up a new offense on the fly, and by the way, if she makes this roster, she will be paying attention and learning this offense all the way up through the end of July when the tournament starts. We are still a month and a half away from the start of the Paris Olympics. She got time. She's got time. Put her on the roster. And it's too late now. Unless somebody gets banged up and they have an alternate step in which case she better be alternate number one. Let me tell you one more conversation that's ongoing that I find very interesting in this. And it's something I find very interesting because I think it's a bad take. Dawn Staley was one of the 5 members of Team USA's Olympic Selection Committee that turned in their roster on Sunday. Dawn Staley, you guys heard of Dawn Staley? You know who Dawn Staley is? You've heard of Dawn, right? She's kind of big in the women's basketball. Yeah, she's kind of big in the women's basketball world. She's got a lot of respect.
Multiple national championships. Yeah.
Dawn Staley was one of the 5 members of Team USA's Olympic Selection Committee that elected not to place Caitlin Clark on the roster. And it is another group that has been dragging Dawn Staley, along with the other 5 members of that organization. On that group is Dawn Staley from South Carolina, Simone Augustus, who was an LSU assistant coach, Delisha Milton-Jones, who was the coach at Old Dominion, Jennifer Rizzotti, who is the president of the Connecticut Sun, and Bethany Donovan, who is the WNBA head of league operation. Caitlin Clark, by the way, in case you're keeping track, has more 3-pointers made than anyone else in the WNBA. On this roster, I am not, just so we're clear, I'm not anti-Brittany Griner, okay? I'm not. And she plays a different position. You need some dominant bigs on this roster. There's no more dominant big when she's in the zone than Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner's played a game. She scored 11 points. She just returned from the saga of Brittany Griner. Forget how you feel about Brittany Griner away from the basketball court. She is one of the few dominant big players, but she's played a game, and she still made the cut. So I was looking through the responses on this, and there's a couple of very interesting ones, but one of the things that has been thrown at Dawn Staley, and I do have a problem with this, is and we talked about this very briefly on the show last week, the conversation about race in terms of women's basketball right now. There is one retweeter that said, quote, "This is racism from Dawn Staley. The WNBA players hate having the white girl getting all the praise." Another ex-user said, "Dawn Staley was leading the way against Caitlin Clark. I have zero doubt." There are a lot of folks dragging Dawn Staley and saying that a part of the action was because Caitlin Clark is white, and they don't want the black players on the league, on the international team, to be outshone by Caitlin Clark. As if Chloe Kitts wasn't a dominant member of that basketball program last year in South Carolina. As if Chloe Kitts wasn't arguably one of the most important factors on that roster last year for South Carolina. I don't think that's got a whole hell of a lot to do with it, to be honest with you. I don't. I think there are, and Lonzo has already expressed them, I think there are a couple of justifiable reasons for keeping Caitlin Clark off this team. Same with the rest of the rookies. Lack of rest. She has not had a break since the beginning of last year's college basketball season. Maybe you're worried about giving her some time to get her legs back under her. Maybe you are worried about, will she have the stamina to be able to show up and ball out in this series? That's fine. Maybe you're going, yeah, she's got more threes than anybody else in the dub right now. But will she be able to maintain that in international play, especially if she is the focus of the defense like she has been across the WNBA? Again, I don't think that's a great argument. But do I think this is a decision made because of the fact that Caitlin Clark is white? I do not. Is there a chance that played into it? I mean, maybe. I don't know. I wasn't in the room. I don't know the hearts of the 5 women who have selected the roster. What I do know is, regardless of the way that they arrived at their decision, I think it's a bad decision. I think it is a decision to leave a great player off the roster. I think it is a decision that they are going to regret when they get to Paris in July for the 2024 Olympics. But we will find out. Texter just texted the show and said, but Breanna Stewart is white. Yeah, there's white players on here. There's white players on here. And I do not... Diana Taurasi is a white player. Like, the player I have the biggest problem with being on this roster, in spite of Caitlin Clark not making it, is another white player. I don't think it has. I will tell you one of my favorite things about basketball, at least in my experience, and maybe I've just been fortunate to have a great experience. on the hardwood floor, racism is not a thing. Between the whistles, it's not. I have played with black players way back in the day, throughout my career, that I, to this day, am still best friends with. We really didn't have a whole hell of a lot in common. It's the old classic cliche. Ron Brown was an upper middle class white player that grew up on a golf course. And yet I had these dudes who were best friends to this day. I still talk with them. Racism on a basketball court, not a thing. Now, I'm not saying it was not a factor in Caitlin Clark being left off. And I think it's a rough conversation to have, but I think it's a necessary conversation to have. I am not going to sit here and allow Dawn Staley to get dragged because she's the only coach in college that figured out how to beat Caitlin Clark. I'm not going to let Dawn Staley get dragged. Dawn Staley, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the best things to happen in the WNBA. In women's basketball. And when she goes to the WNBA, she'll be that as well. I'm not letting Dawn Staley get dragged for this. I think there's a lot of good, I don't agree with it. I think there's a lot of good arguments for leaving Caitlin Clark off, and I'm sure they leaned into those arguments. I'm sure it is a merits conversation. I still think it's a wrong decision purely because of what happened on the basketball court and what happens around Caitlin Clark on the basketball court. All right, let's take a break. John Blau for the Post and Courier joins us in the next segment. We will talk a little Clemson hardball after they get bounced from the Super Regionals by the University of Florida, a barely above 500 Southeastern Conference team. What does this say for next year? What does it say about Eric Bakich? What is the legacy of this year's team? We will ask John Blau when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, one more live. We're back with John Blau after this. They're right there. The Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, all around the world at thefanupstate.com or on the Odyssey app for free. Go to the website or go to the app, AUDACY, search and subscribe to the Fan Upstate, and you can listen live or go back and listen on demand with the Rewind feature on the Odyssey app. You can back up chapter by chapter or hour by hour on the podcast page at thefanupstate.com. You can go back and listen to any and every hour of the show on demand. If you miss interviews, they're all logged right there for you. I'm glad you're here for this one, though, because joining us now on the phone line is a young man who covers the Clemson Tiger Athletic Department for the Post-Courier. John Blau joins us every Monday at 8:40 to talk Tiger athletics. John, happy weekend, brother. How we feeling, man?
I'm good. How are you, Rob?
Doing well. Doing well. A little bit better than Eric Bakich and the boys as the season comes to its conclusion, swept in the Super Regionals by the Florida Gators this weekend. Want to get into some of the X's and O's and some of the drama that happened in yesterday's matchup. But if you want to look at the Super Regionals as an entire situation, John, what would you say it was that went wrong for Clemson?
Yeah, I mean, they made a couple of mortal sins, which is they kept putting the leadoff batter of each inning on ahead of Jack Caglione coming up, which is like the absolute worst thing you could do. They put themselves into more situations than they would have liked, probably, where they actually had to pitch to him, and Caglione hit a couple of really big homers. Obviously, Clemson made runs in both games. I mean, obviously 13 innings yesterday. They went down with a fight, but yeah, again, just too many situations where they allowed Florida to kind of come up for a big swing. Caglione in particular, a couple of other big home runs they gave up. This is a power hitting Gator team, and they showed it. And just weren't quite able to kind of hold them down pitching wise. And obviously, again, at the end of the game, couldn't quite come up with the big hit other than Holden Masters hit, and obviously not enough to win the game. So, yeah, I mean, obviously battled again in both games, just wasn't good enough to beat Florida.
One of the things that I brought to the series, John Blau, was this is a Florida team that was a game over 500 in the regular season. It was a Florida team that has been playing for their lives for about a month and a half now. It was a Florida team that had to fist fight their way in. A lot of people still don't think that they should have been in this tournament at all. I am one of those people. But do you think that Clemson down the stretch, being a national seed, I don't think there's the emphasis on the ACC tournament the way that there is the SEC tournament to teams within it. That's just my opinion, may or may not be correct. But it felt to me like Florida had been playing meaningful baseball for weeks and weeks, and a lot of Clemson fans feel like Clemson really had not down the stretch. Do you think momentum was anything that had to play with this?
Yeah, I just think Clemson, I mean, if you look at some of the injuries and some of the issues they were dealing with, Will Taylor obviously being out after having already lost Andrew Chufo and having to shift the lineup around, I think that kind of hurt their offense a little bit. Obviously, they were still able to score some runs in these last couple of games, but not quite to the level that they were earlier in the year. I think that's a bigger deal. I think, Tristan Smith and Aiden Canuck were both pretty good, obviously, in regional play and super regionals. But, Tristan Smith was really on a roll for that ankle injury. I don't know if he was ever 100% healthy. Aiden Canuck got a little fatigued. The bullpen, I mean, honestly, I think the bullpen ended up being one of those fatal flaws where you thought you were going to have some pretty good arms with Nick Clayton, Rob Hughes, some of those older guys. They really just didn't have a great year. And I think some of that showed towards the end of the year. So I don't know if I would go to, the ACC or just didn't have any meaningful games or any of that. I just think there was a deterioration that kind of occurred towards the end of the year for Clemson. Started off really hot, just weren't able to maintain that. And again, they were in both these games. I mean, they easily could have forced a Monday game if they were able to, kind of pull through yesterday. Just came really close, just weren't quite able to do it. But if I were to, kind of explain why Clemson wasn't quite able to get over the hump against a team, again, Florida, very talented, didn't have a great year. Some of those things just seem to have maybe kind of, picked at them as the season kind of rolled on and as we got into postseason play.
We talked a little bit about pitching going into this because of what you just mentioned. Florida is a mashing team, but they also see the ball exceptionally well, and that makes pitching a priority. But I think we also last week kind of talked about the fact that this super regional could very well just become a home run derby. It could be who can Bugs Bunny their way around the bases the most times. And I just wonder, do you feel like the pitching wasn't good enough to keep up with what Florida can do, or was it the bats, or was it some combination of both?
Yeah, no, I think it was mostly the pitching. I mean, I asked Eric Bakich that exact question going into the Super Regional. Just, playing a stadium of these dimensions, that Doug Kingsmore Stadium is not a large stadium. Bringing in a team that has the fourth most home runs in the SEC, how much do your pitchers have to execute? And he brought up, we can give up home runs, that happens, but we can't give up free passes. We can't make errors in the field. In the first game, on Saturday, they did both of those things. I mean, again, they far too often walked the number 9 hitter or the number 1 hitter to get to Caglione and put themselves in situations where they had to pitch to him. And then, obviously Caglione had that huge homer in the Saturday game, but then you have errors in the field. Jaron Purify had a wide throw. You kind of gave them extra runs. Those are things you can't do against a team like Florida that has such explosive offense. And so they did that. They did it again on Sunday in terms of, again, just giving free passes away, kind of putting yourself in bad spots against Caglione. And so, yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, the pitching just didn't really execute, and they gave Florida too many chances to be able to do what they did. Again, there were some good performances, though. I mean, Jacob McGovern had some really clutch outs on Saturday. Austin Gordon went 5 innings, which is more than he's gone all season. There were some good performances, but they weren't quite clean enough to be able to kind of, again, limit a Florida offense that's incredibly capable of hitting the long ball, and that's exactly what Florida did.
We saw, John Blau, the ejection of Jack Crichton early in that game for leaving third base and coming over and getting into an altercation. Eric Bakich came out and said, my man was that was the third out. My man was waking his bag back to the dugout. I don't know what he was supposed to do. Obviously, in the top of the 13th inning, as Clemson was the away team in yesterday's contest, you had the ejection of Bakich, the ejection of Leggett. You had a lot of these different storylines that all came to play. How much of specifically the ejection of Crichton? I mean, the ejection of the coaches at the end kind of was what it was heading into the bottom of the 13th. but the ejection of Crichton in that early in that contest, how big of a blow do you think that was to Clemson's lineup and what they wanted to do in a game they had to have yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, it hurt. I mean, I don't know. Jack Crichton obviously is down the order. He's not, he's not your cleanup hitter or anything like that. But, obviously the fans wanted Caglione gone. I mean, that would have been huge if he got tossed for, the interaction with Naraki. It was kind of surprising that of all the players that were ejected, that it wasn't the two that actually kind of got into kind of a physical altercation, or a lot of players left the bench. I mean, you could have had half the team for each team gone. But the big deal is that it set the precedent. There was that prolonged warning that came out in the third inning because of that situation. And then when Alden Mathis slams his bat in the 13th inning, that's considered potentially an ejectable offense. And then Bakich comes out and Leggett comes out and they all start yelling. And both coaches are ejected. And that definitely threw the game into some chaos. I don't know. Again, I'm not going to say that's why they lost. But it was definitely kind of a chaotic moment, after some chaotic moments earlier in the game, and eventually kind of, Clemson couldn't keep going. So it was a lot in terms of what happened. It was confusing. Personally, I think everybody up in the press box is wondering how Mathis was not ejected, but the coaches were, and what the heck was going on. We just got a statement overnight from the crew chief kind of explaining a little bit of it, but yeah, it was definitely a lot going on. It was definitely chaotic, and none of it probably helped at the end of the day.
I know, John Blau, it was not the end of the season that Clemson fans were hoping for, getting bumped out of the Super Regionals by a team that was barely over 500. But I have asked the question of a couple of folks. I'll ask the same thing of you. It is the first year of this regime. It is a team that hosted a regional, hosted a Super Regional, did some good things this year. What does this season and making it to the Super Regional mean for Clemson baseball moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's the first year, second year for Coach Bakich. So they're 2 years in to get over the NCAA tournament hump. That first year where they had been in back-to-back years under Monty Lee, that was a step to get over that regional hump, which they hadn't won a regional since 2010. To kind of wipe that slate clean. That's a big deal to kind of take that next step. Now it's just the final monkey off the back is trying to get this program back to Omaha. But the fact that, again, in the first couple of years of Eric Bakich, you've seen them make those incremental steps. They haven't quite got going yet in terms of bringing in their own recruits. I mean, obviously, Bakich brought in some guys that he had targeted at Michigan. Jaron Purify is one of those guys. Aiden Canuck was a huge get, but he was a Monty Lee recruit prior. To see kind of what Bakich is able to do now with getting some of these guys that he recruited out of high school in the coming years. They've always been pretty good at using the transfer portal, finding some older guys. I mean, obviously Alden Mathis, who hit that go-ahead homer the 13th, he was a grad transfer. Jimmy Obertop, Jacob Inderleiter. I mean, those guys won't be back next year, but you feel pretty good about Bakich and the staff's ability to identify some of these guys. I mean, if they can get some more arms, again, I think that the bullpen kind of at the end of the day, you look at it, that was kind of one of the weaknesses. If you could shore that up a little bit, again, continue to bring back some of these guys like Purify, Crichton is another guy who's going to be back. A lot of these younger guys, Canarella, obviously, for one more year. You've got a lot of talent returning. They're making steps. It's not the end of the season they wanted. They obviously wanted to get to Omaha and get that accomplished, but they're making steps every year, and there's no reason why they can't take another step in 2025.
John Blau covers the Clemson Athletic Department for the Post and Courier. He joins us every Monday at 8:40 to talk Tiger athletics. John, my man, appreciate it, buddy. Next time we talk to you next week, it's going to be peak off season, brother.
Yep, sounds good. I appreciate it. Thanks, Rob.
You know it. John Blau from the Post and Courier. You can follow him on Twitter, on X, whatever you call it, at John Blau, JON_BLAU. Appreciate his time every single Monday here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. I also, I don't know where I was going with that. Or it's
I would have helped you with the name of the show because it looked like, you forgot for a moment. Yeah.
You got my head about the fact that I called myself Ron last segment.
You did.
And it's just spinning in the old noggin ever since then. And I'm like, don't say Ron, don't say Ron, don't say Ron. Rob Brown Show. We did it. We got there. Sports Flash. I ran out. I ran out of words.
It's time for Sports Flash here on the Ron Brown Show. The NBA Finals will head back to Dallas with Boston Celtics in charge 2-0 after a 105-98 win over the Mavericks last night. Defensive superstar Drew Holiday led all Celtics with 26, and Jaylen Brown had 21. Luka Doncic went 32, 11, and 11 for a triple-double in the loss. Game 3 is on Wednesday night. Scottie Scheffler continued his incredible 2024 run with a win at the Memorial yesterday. Scheffler ended with his highest final round in 2 years, shooting a 2 over 74 with just one birdie to outduel Colin Morikawa. Scheffler became the first player with 5 wins in a season since Justin Thomas did it in 2017. And make sure you tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. for a brand new local show, Wire to Wire. Cole Bryson and Diesel get you up to date on the latest local and national sports news. Great guests, great debates, and I tell you what, it's a whole lot of fun, and it's all Wire to Wire. More proof that anything that goes wrong, it's my fault. By the way, as far as radio goes, it's brand new for 2 years. So you're gonna have to deal with me saying our brand new show for 2 years. Dude, the show isn't even a year old. It's still brand new.
So this is the level of competition I'm up against for. I'm a professional hater.
So you made me miss the black tar thing for that.
It was worth it.
Thanks. No, it wasn't. You worried me there for a second because I thought maybe the Star Awards had
No.
been, and it's like, that doesn't sound like Chris Miller.
One of my buddies got to meet Marissa Tomei, and I've never been more jealous.
You can't live vicariously? I mean,
I'm going to text him and be like, was she everything I hope she was?
do you know she's like 50, right? I'm just
I'm
saying.
almost 40. I feel like it's acceptable.
You've been almost 40 forever. When's your stinking birthday?
February. And then I'll be 40 for the rest of my life. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, with you starting the final hour of the Monday edition of the radio broadcast.
Hey, Big Daddy, how you doing?
Real good. Corey LaJoy. Thanks for checking, man. Great to hear from Corey. I've reached out a couple times. Corey's his PR lady is like, we're gonna get him on the show. It's just he's been slammed up a little bit. So hopefully we'll have Corey rejoin.
So she's not winking when she's saying
well,
that.
it's via email, so I'm gonna go with a solid maybe.
I'm just picturing her doing that. Yeah, we're gonna
get him on the show real soon. You got to do that, or it doesn't count.
Sounds like you're calling a dog, though. But
all right. Got a lot of stuff I want to keep getting through on the radio broadcast today. Like, for instance, U.S. Soccer still trying to convince me that Greg Berhalter is the right guy for the job. What are we doing?
So I've heard you complain about this guy for a really long time.
Uh-huh.
So who is the right guy?
Not Greg Berhalter.
Okay, but you've got someone in mind, right?
We have lots of guys that have been mentioned as potential replacements for Greg. But we talked earlier about.
Hasn't he been replaced before and then they brought him back?
No,
okay,
his contract ran up. The U.S. Soccer Federation ran a search and then went right back to Greg, whose brother is on the damn USSF soccer committee that made the decision to hire the guy back. We have not won any. I mean, that's not true. We won a couple of Gold Cups, but okay, we beat a Mexico team to win a Gold Cup.
So isn't that is it an actual Gold Cup?
It is. The trophy's actually a Gold Cup.
Okay, that sounds like something that's pretty cool to win to me.
Sure.
I'll take a Gold Cup.
The Gold Cup is a great one. The equivalent of winning the NBA's in-season tournament. There are a lot of people who it matters to.
Okay.
And then there's a lot of people who go, who in the hell cares?
Took me right out of that one.
Yeah, exactly. The Gold Cup victories are fine. They're nice. You beat Canada. You beat Mako. And by the way, I will say the good thing is at least we're not Mexico, whose fans are ready to riot over the fall of that program.
So you're saying we rule North America?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we at least got that going for us.
I would like to, North America, because we got beat by Colombia 5-1, 5-1 over the weekend.
Yeah,
5-1.
I don't even know where that is.
That's
So,
like losing a football game 42-3. Okay.
Is that somewhere near Ecuador? I mean, it's where
Did they not teach geography
Colombia?
in Ohio?
Dude, how old am I?
Did South America not exist in the 40s?
Yeah, well, that's funny. I'm sure I got an A in the course like 40 years ago when I was in high school. It really is 40 years ago. Oh,
Bolivia is in the middle of South America. It's like right in the middle. You got Peru, then Chile is the
but
long,
where's Colombia?
really skinny
you said,
one.
why are you saying Bolivia?
Oh, sorry,
You said
I meant-
Colombia. What are you doing?
Colombia, when you leave the Central American isthmus and you head into South America, Colombia is the first country in the big part of
Okay.
South America.
All right.
Yeah. And Colombia Venezuela, and Ecuador are
Colombia.
the top.
That's where all the cocaine comes from, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Colombia marching powder, as it is referred to sometimes.
It is?
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Allegedly. I don't know. Anyway, they beat us 5-1. And it's not that we lost, because Colombia is honestly not a bad team at all. Like it's not a bad team, but Colombia hangs out like right around where the US does in the FIFA power rankings. The US has been hovering around 11, 12, 13. Colombia is right there kind of in that same market, as is Mexico, by the way, as is Brasilia, a little bit higher consistently. They're towards the 5-6 range, but they're all kind of right there in that mix. Getting beat 5-1 by Colombia as we prep for the Olympics is real bad. Not losing. Getting beat 5-1, right? Like, it's one thing to go into the NBA playoffs and lose a series 4-3. It's another thing to go in and get swept, right? I'm a Pellies fan. Super jacked that we made the playoffs. Getting swept out of the playoffs kind of broke me as a person, man. It was rough. And that's kind of what this loss did. It kind of took the wind out of the sails. And then I made the pivotal mistake of deciding that I was going to go listen to the 10-minute Greg Berhalter post-game press conference. And I was freaking infuriated by it, TBH. I was infuriated by it for a number of reasons. Greg opened up his press conference with, this wasn't a learning experience for us. This was a wake-up call. Yeah, Greg. How many times have we heard that under your leadership, Gregaga? It's the same story. It's the same old story, same old song and dance, my friends. Steven Tyler, Aerosmith. Wildly frustrating. Then Gregaga had the stones to go out there and go, but we just gotta trust the process. What process, Greg? What process? We should be, just based on the talent on the roster with Gio Reyna and Yusuf Musa and Christian Pulisic, we should be, and should be. This isn't an opinion. This is a fact. We should be entering a golden era of United States soccer. We should be the best we have ever been right now. Does that mean we should be on par with France and Germany and Italy and England? Maybe not. Maybe we're still a little bit behind the best teams in the world. Should we be in the conversation? You're damn right we should be. Trust the process is fine for two groups of coaches. It is fine for the coaches that have gone out there and kicked a whole lot of asses. It's fine for you. Nick Saban can say, trust the process. And I'm good with that. Bill Belichick can say, trust the process. And I'm good with that. They can say all these things when you are at the top of the game. The other group of coaches that can say trust the process are the coaches that are new to the game. A college coach that's been on campus for 1 year. Trust the process. An NFL coach that is maybe a year or two into taking over a garbage roster, left behind by a coach who got fired after 12 games. That coach can say, trust the process, and I'm good with that. You know who can't say trust the process? A guy who's been in charge of the program for years and has a 43% win percentage with the team. You can't say trust the process there. A guy who has been using the process TM for years. And despite the fact that we are getting more and better and more talented players than ever in the history of U.S. soccer, we're getting blown out 5-1 by Colombia. And again, soccer is Colombia's number one sport. It is the thing that they are better at than anything else when it comes to athletics. It's a good side. It's a side that is consistently ranked around the same spot that we are. There is zero reason that we are losing to Colombia is one thing. We walk out of there with a 1-0 L. You go, okay, not our day. A 3-2 L. All right, we scored some goals. Shore up the deep. We got beat 5-1. And for a couple of reasons. Number one, the back line has been the weakness for U.S. soccer for forever. The back line went into this contest, and it was very clear that they were completely and entirely unprepared, unready, and unserious in this matchup. They were getting rocked by Colombia. And now, maybe even if you're up against a team that's got a lot of athletes across their front, right? Maybe they're throwing a 4-man or a 3-man front at you, and they got a lot of great athletes, and you're just under a ton of pressure. Maybe you can look and go, all right, been a minute since we played an international friendly. Maybe it just is a chemistry issue, and that chemistry issue will be solved, except for probably not, because Colombia was not playing a high press. They weren't throwing extra guys at us. They weren't doing anything special. In fact, if anything, they were playing a low block. They were playing with the majority of their players towards the back of their defense. They were doing their best not to get gassed by Reyna and Pulisic and Musa and whoever else was out there at any given point of the 90 minutes. Number two, where's the majority of issues come for the Americans? Late in contest. What happened in this one? We gave up a goal early. Okay, it happens. Team comes out. They recognize this is a Goliath match for them. This is an opportunity to drum up some attention, drum up some love if they can go out there and go beat the evil empire that is the red, white, and blue. And so they give you a full-out blitzkrieg to open the game. All right, fine. Colombia scored all their goals with the exception of a couple. 3 of their 5 came inside the last 25 minutes of action, last 15, 20, 25 minutes of action, which means that a couple of things happened. Number one, Colombia figured out their adjustments, made those adjustments, made the correct substitutions, changed up the tactics, and beat us. Number two, Greg did not. Greg went, oh, yeah, I know we're down 2-1. I know we're not creating opportunities. I know that we're not moving the ball well. I know that we are kicking into pressure and then watching the pressure take the ball away from us. So let's change nothing. Let's do nothing differently. Let's just keep doing the same thing we've been doing, despite the fact that it not only isn't working in this game, but it hasn't worked at all. Greg, how many more wake-up calls do we need, man? Because, we've already played this game once where Landon Donovan and Clint Dempsey and Tim Howard went out there and they built up a buttload of attention for American football. And then what happened? We stank for a couple of years and all that attention went away. All of it. You built up some attention, and all of a sudden the Pulisics and the Reynas and the Musas, they wanted to play for Team USA football. You're about to start losing that, my guy. You're about to get to the point where the dual nationals are going to want to go back to riding the pine for Germany and Italy and Spain and France and England instead of going, I can go be a star for the Stars and Stripes. If we keep doing dumb crap like this, that just is what it is. And then And this was my favorite part of the whole presser. And Joey B's over in the stream chat. He beat me to it. Then Gregaga has the outright audacity to say into a microphone, people need to do their jobs. People need to do that. Greg, I don't know if you know this. So allow me to give you, since a 5-1 loss to Columbia was not a teachable moment, but a wake-up call. Gregaga, allow me to give you a bit of a teachable moment. This was a teachable moment that my old man gave me a long time ago. He said, son, listen closely. You do not lead by words, you lead by actions. You do not lead by telling other people what to do. You lead by doing what needs to be done and inspiring them to do it too. That's how you lead. You don't lead by grabbing the mic and going, people are not doing their jobs. You lead by doing your job and doing it to the best of your abilities and inspiring other people to either keep up or keep out. And so it's relatively uninspiring, Gregaga, to watch you taking L's like this over and over and to watch you make adjustments, or I should say not make adjustments, that my 8-year-old nephew could call out. That my brother, who coaches a U7 soccer club, is texting me and going, hey, man, quick question. But if they are pressing on us in the midfield, why are we not bringing an extra man back to give the escape valve and running wingers down the sideline, which is the counter to that? And I have to go, I don't know. Like, I'm not asking you to be the Phil Jackson here. I'm not asking you to come up with anything that is creative and new look and different. Soccer's been around a very long time. Very long time. Most of the tactics and the strategies have been figured out to this game. And then it's just a matter of how do we deploy them at the right time and how do I line up the right guys to deploy the right tactic to win. Gregaga, you've got the right guys on the roster. You've got the right guys on the roster. You're the one not doing your job, pal. And it is evident to everyone who has even a kernel of knowledge about the game of football. You are the only, you're out there wearing your t-shirts, clapping on the sideline when your team's down 4-1 to an international side that, yes, is good. Columbia is good. Losing the game isn't the problem. Getting your ass kicked and doing nothing about it and then having the rocks to grab a mic at a presser and start blaming every damn person except you is the problem. No accountability, and U.S. Soccer lets this guy keep getting away with it over and over and over and over and over and over again. And frankly, I'm just freaking tired of it, dude. The Olympics are in a month and a half, and at this point, I'm more excited about women's basketball than I am excited about a sport that we should at least be threatening in. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Notice my shoosh is gone. I gotta find that because I need it.
Your what?
My shoosh.
Oh. Shoosh. Shoosh, please. Oh. All right, guys, give me 45 seconds. I'll be right back.
Right in the middle of the segment, it felt like someone took a hot needle and just poked it inside of my nose.
I was wondering.
Yeah, I thought my nose was bleeding.
What was going on right
Because it
there?
hurt. I don't just all of a sudden it was weird. Am I stroking out? Is this what's going on here? You know when your nose bleeds, it feels a certain way. It doesn't feel like it feels like blood. That's what it was. I thought for sure I was bleeding. But it wasn't.
Are you properly hydrated, Lonzo?
Bro.
Yes, I know about your barrel.
I mean, there's 3 bottles of water there. This thing's half gone right now. I'm drinking on the minimum 5 bottles of water a day. So what I think it is maybe there are some things that have been clogged because I've been sick for 2 weeks. One of them just decided, hey, let's run. So weird. Wonder what it's like to be normal.
You're asking the wrong dude.
Probably pretty boring, but still at the same time.
You're my ego just said in my head, I want you to make another BetMGM promo, but I want you to make it with me as the guest.
Yeah, but you said that
Just
me.
to confuse
You said
people.
that to me before, and I'm not doing that.
I'll do it.
Yeah, no. You won't, because you don't have the donut. Ah,
I'm not allowed to have donuts.
right.
The Rob Brown Show continues. It is the fan upstate. The University of Florida shows up to Clemson, knocks the Clemson Tigers out of the NCAA postseason in the world of hardball. Clemson gets swept 0-2 in their own hosted super regional, against the 1 game over 500 Florida Gators this past weekend.
So that regional's over, so Clemson's not hosting any more games.
Correct.
Right?
They're cooked. They're done.
That's too bad.
Season has come to its conclusion.
'Cause how much fun would that be to continue to have to host other teams when you just got eliminated?
I mean, they're not hosting anybody except like maybe a end of the season barbecue or something. So
There are cows up there, I've heard.
this is going to start a very interesting conversation. In fact, it already has. I saw it taking place last night. Over the past couple of years, we have seen some very interesting results in baseball. The Great One and I went at it a little bit earlier this AM regarding the concept of winning in baseball's postseason. The adage in baseball, and it is an adage because it is true and accurate. Thanks, Chuck. The adage in baseball is that it is not always the best team that wins in the postseason. It is more often than not the hottest team that wins in the postseason. Right now, the Florida Gators are the hottest team, and I think they are the hottest team because they have had to play the most meaningful baseball for the longest period of time leading up to this postseason. Florida was hovering at and around 500 for most of the season and were fighting for their lives to get in. There are a lot of people, myself included, who said that Florida should not have been in this postseason this year. Going 1 game over 500 is not good enough, as far as I'm concerned. And now here we are, the team that I said is not good enough to get in, finds themselves through the Super Regionals and on their way to Omaha. By the way, here's a fun little fact. Regardless of who it is that wins today in the final matchup between Georgia and North Carolina State University, the teams that are going into the NCAA tournament bracket exclusively represent the ACC or the SEC. From the SEC, Tennessee is in, Kentucky is in, Florida is in, and Texas A&M are in. From the ACC, Florida State is in, Virginia, in Florida. Florida State is in, Virginia is in, and North Carolina is in. And obviously, we have one more ACC-SEC matchup today between Georgia and NC State to determine who goes in. If Georgia wins today, the SEC will be represented by 5 teams, the ACC by 3. If NC State wins today, then both conferences will make up exactly 50% of the field at Omaha. So it is relatively interesting that the entire Omaha bracket is completely compiled of the top 2 conferences in college baseball. I bring that up because it advances the conversation about the baseball bracket. The Florida Gators are, by definition, whether you look at statistics or whether you look at the record, the Florida Gators are, by definition, one of, if not the worst team in terms of performance, in terms of numbers, and in terms of record to ever make it out of a super regional and head to Omaha. They just are. They were a game over 500. And again, the metrics, in my opinion, said they shouldn't be here, but they're on their way. Very similar to what the Ole Miss Runnin' Rebels did when they won their natty in 2022, a team that a lot of folks argued should not have been in, but then dominated their way to an NCAA baseball championship final and then won it. So this is now very interesting. It is very interesting to me because Florida got in and they left out a lot of small schools. They left out a lot of schools that turned in 40-win records in the regular season in order to pick a Southeastern Conference team that was one game over 500 and did not reach 30 wins on the season. And for years, there have been a lot of people, points dramatically to self. There have been a lot of people who have said baseball isn't like football. Baseball is very frequently won by the team that is playing the best in the moment, not the best overall team. And because of that, small schools should get a ticket to the postseason. Small schools like the College of Charleston, who go out and they win 48, 50 games, should absolutely have the opportunity to play their way in. I'm not asking for a direct bye to Omaha. I'm saying put them in the regionals and let them have a freaking chance. Because every now and then you see a Cal Poly or a Long Beach State or a UC Santa Barbara that makes its way into the Omaha portion of the tournament. They deserve a shot. And for years, there's been the other side of the argument. The other side of the argument that is said, hey, yo, dig it. Schools that come out of power conferences should always have the priority. Schools that come out of the ACC, out of the SEC, because it's just harder. But I've long said 28 wins in the Southeastern Conference, as far as I'm concerned. 28 wins in the Southeastern Conference should not negate 42 wins in the Sun Belt or in the Patriot League or in whatever else there might be. Should not outpace that. And yet here it did, and that team, the team no one wanted to see in Omaha, is going to Omaha. This leaves us in a real funny spot because I have to acknowledge it is not a bullet in the gun of the people who believe that large conference teams should get a benefit of the doubt. It is a shell in the howitzer. It is a round in the mortar of the guys that say big conference teams should always get there. I'm going to tell you right now. You know who I look forward to putting this in their face and asking for their input is going to be? Mr. Small Schools himself, the D-Train Diesel, this afternoon. I'm really interested in what he has to say about this. Because what you've just done is thrown a missile into the arsenal of people who go, sorry, small schools should just have their own thing over on the side. They should not be competing with the ACC and the SEC, especially when there were a lot of non-ACC and non-SEC squads in the postseason bracket from the Big 12, the Big 10, whatever. Not from the Big 10. They hate baseball. I can't figure it out. But a lot of squads from other conferences, and Omaha is now guaranteed to either be 5 SEC and 3 ACC schools or 4 ACC and 4 SEC schools. So I get online last night and I find a whole lot of discussion, despite the fact that Fresno State won a natty not terribly long ago as a 4 seed. Despite the fact that the list of national champions is full, I'm not going to say full, is largely comprised of smaller schools. Is largely comprised of schools that should not have been there. Oregon State Pac-12. I don't know if that necessarily counts. Coastal Carolina won a natty in 2016. Fresno State in 2008. Cal State Fullerton in 2004. Rice in 2003. And again, that's only 4 natties out of 2 decades. But the point is, those schools got a chance. So while I absolutely agree that Florida making it to the Super Regionals and through the Super Regionals as the last team in, Florida making it to the regionals they did not host and through it, to the Super Regionals that not only did they not host, but that they did not host and had to go to one of the most difficult home field advantages in the Supers in Clemson, South Carolina, and they swept Clemson out of that spot. It's a big argument for the I don't care about the small schools. The big schools play tougher competition, so of course they're going to look less impressive, even though they would dominate College of Charleston. Does College of Charleston beat the Florida Gators? I don't know. What I do know is that the Evansville Purple Aces went to Knox Vegas, Tennessee against the best team in the country, and they split 2-1. They put themselves in a position yesterday to maybe threaten to steal a spot from the best team in the country. This should not change anything. College of Charleston still should have gotten in. They should still have the opportunity, even if Florida defeated the odds, won the regional on the road, won the super regional on the road, and booked a trip to Omaha. It should not change anything, and it is frustrating that from this time forward, every time there is a Cal State Fullerton or a Hawaii or a Santa Clara or a Rollins or a Southern Illinois or a Yale or a Rice or a Pepperdine or a Holy Cross or a Fresno State or a Wichita State that builds up a good roster and has a run, somebody's going to go, yeah, Rob, but what about the 2023-24 Gators? Ugh. All right, I guess. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Why'd that bed stop? It was so short.
Well, the typical bet is a minute long.
That was not.
That was a minute long.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was. It's definitely a minute long. I'm looking at the time. The newer ones I put in, I make them like 2.5 to 3 minutes long because, someone doesn't stop when they're,
Who? Diesel?
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep us from getting an email. That's all.
When I was in last week and producing Wire to Wire, Cole does not he doesn't say, all right, coming up after the break. He just goes, we need to talk about whatever. And we'll do that coming up next. And he's just out. I'm like, oh, okay. Guess we're going to break. Which would you prefer? A 50-second out that's clear we're going out and a tease, or a 10-second out that just goes, we need to talk about Clemson baseball. It's wire to wire.
Well, I'm going to play this thing where I do pick one or the other.
Yep.
I would rather have it's wire to wire.
I mean, I'm not changing anything. It was just a question.
Okay. All right. I just, thing is, you're not going to go out before I start playing the music. So I'm good. So even
That is correct. That will never be an issue.
So even
have
if
to
you
deal with.
adopted that policy, if you say it, the music's already playing, boom. I mean, even if it's abrupt, I got music going, I'm good.
Also, as far as the times go,
I don't care about anybody else. I only care about the fact that we've gotten that email a couple of times and I don't want it again. That's all. That's all I care about. They also don't have a live sports flash that's butted up against the other sports flash, which is the reason why we need to make sure we take the 30 break at 30. That's all.
I hate that break.
Yeah, well. You know who also uses that clock? Over there. And some of them can hit it. All right, the majority of them can hit it. One person cannot.
BF.
Oh no, he's on it.
Big T?
There's only one person who cannot.
Is it Big T?
Well, okay, if you want to call that person that, I guess.
I mean, is that who it is?
It's someone who's here now.
Okay.
Yeah. She's even said stop the music before.
I'm going to do that.
No, well,
Lonzo, stop the bed.
Yeah,
I'm not done.
Which,
I'm cooking. Let me cook.
If it's okay, fine. I don't think she hasn't had a talking to because we all get those talking to.
But did it change anything?
For a while.
Okay.
Yeah. Then you slowly do what you're doing and just go a little bit later, a little bit later, a little bit later until we get the email again. And I don't want that email.
By the way, Florida coming into Omaha with 34 wins. That is the lowest amount of wins for a College World Series team since 1984, when Maine went in at 33-18. The year before that, they made it in at 29-14. I do not know what Maine's mascot is, though, and I'm going with, what are we going with? What's the mascot of Maine? I feel like I should know, but I don't.
something to do with fish or shrimp or something.
I was going to go the whalers, to be honest.
Really? There's
Yeah.
whales up there?
I don't know. I automatically think Maine,
The Maine,
Northeast,
I'm gonna go with
whaling.
longshoremen.
The longshoremen. That's not bad. The Maine State College of Agriculture and the Mechanic Arts. Aggie who? Let's see. They are the. Oh, come on. It's not even on their Wikipedia. Do they even have?
Oh, they both are. James and Joey B are both saying they're the Black Beans.
The Maine Black Bears. Did you say black beads?
That's a beans. It looks like beans from here.
Yeah, no. It's,
Again, my eyes are getting worse. I'm going to have to start wearing them. I don't want to. Diesel's broke down. I mean, Diesel's wearing his glasses. They look good, by the way. But I can't. I'm going to have to.
not only are they the Black Bears,
Looks like black beans to me.
but they have a black bear mascot. You know, like the Nittany Lion, like Mike the Tiger, et cetera, et
Is it
cetera.
like a grizzly or something? I mean,
No, it's a black bear.
black bear. Okay.
Black bear is its own breed of bear. And the name
Really?
of I know. The name of the bear is Bananas T Bear. Has been a part of the UMaine community since 1914.
So this is like Ugga, but it's bananas.
It's not a real bear. It's a dude in a bear suit.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, it's a dude in a bear suit, but he has been known as Bananas T Bear since 1914. Maine's got good hockey jerseys, though. Like real good hockey jerseys. I like that a lot.
Yeah, this ain't gonna work.
UMaine, baby.
It's
Why?
because what's the other word that they use for trifocals?
No, that's pretty much it.
No. There's another. It's progressive. That's it. I have progressive. They call them progressive lenses. So I have progressive lenses, and I can't I can't find the angle.
What if we went and we got you some fashionable glasses? Okay, fine. Like it's a good brand, but what if we went and got you some fashion?
By the way, for
glasses?
those at home, my glasses are Calvin Klein's.
Why do you have your name written in your underwear?
Exactly.
Who's Calvin? I've seen this one.
It's your mom, dude.
Anyway,
This ain't gonna happen. Maybe it's a glare. It might be a glare. It's just not gonna.
Lonzo
work.
would rather stumble through life half blind than just
No,
get glasses.
It hurts. The headphones, it hurts. How's that not hurt your ears?
Because my glasses fit.
My glasses fit too. I know they fit. Okay. It may not look at it because my long. Anyway.
Hey, Scotty Scheffler's very good at golf. Did you know that? Scotty Scheffler's almost as good at golf as Sergei Bobrovsky is at the hockeying.
Isn't he a felon?
He is not. He had all charges dropped.
Okay. all right.
Hashtag free Scotty.
Okay. Oh,
Hashtag prison Scotty.
prison Scotty.
I love Scotty Scheffler. Dude's great. Dude came out, fired off a 73, his highest round in forever, since like 2022. Fired off a 74, a final round 2 over, finished at 8 under on the tournament, and still won, mainly because the Memorial was designed by noted masochist and apparently hater of modern golf, Jack Nicklaus, who designed this course to beat the hell.
You take that back. There's no disparaging of Jack Nicklaus.
I will disparage Jack Nicklaus. You ready? Well, it's got nothing to do with the golf course because the Memorial was a lot of fun. We watched a little bit of it yesterday at the end of the day, mainly because I saw that Scotty Scheffler was in line for win number 5 on the season, and he got it, which, in case you are keeping score, in the Rob Brown Show home edition. It is the first time that a golfer has put together 5 wins in a season since Justin Thomas did it in 2016-17. It is a run of 11 consecutive top 10 finishes, the longest since Tiger Woods back in 2008. And like 6 other accolades that Lonzo cut out of the sports flash, and I forgot what they are.
I only have so much time, dude. And you're putting in like it's really long. Sometimes I got to cut stuff.
Yeah, but none of those were unimpressive, just so we're clear. I'm not saying they all had to go in, but it's a good
I'm
list.
contractually obligated to push our new show. So I didn't make sure I had enough time for that.
You have a contract?
No, actually, I don't. You do.
Then how are you contractually?
You have a contract. I don't.
You're not contractually obligated to do a damn thing.
Yeah, you have a contract. I work for a living.
Kind of a big deal. Anyway, Scotty Scheffler, one number 5, but I will disparage Jack Nicklaus. And by the way, I do see you on the phone line there, Rick. Hang on, I'm coming right to you. But before I do that, I have to say, Jack Nicklaus said last week that becoming a facilitator of conversation between the LIV Tour and the PGA Tour is, quote, above my pay grade. You know you're Jack Nicklaus, right? In the land of golfers that can walk into any room and the conversation immediately becomes about you, Jack Nicklaus, you are literally Mount Rushmore.
He's also 84 years old. I mean, why you need him to be the mediator between the two?
Because somebody's got to be the mediator. And I think at this point, it's going to have to be somebody the stature of Jack, because Rory ain't getting it done. Tiger ain't getting it done. Jon Rahm ain't getting it done. Bryson DeChambeau ain't getting it done. All the dudes that are currently involved in this fiasco ain't getting it done.
Bring in John, what's his name, with the beard and the cigar and all that stuff.
I'm assuming you mean John Daly.
Yes, him.
That would be fine, except John Daly would like to hold the meeting in a very different venue than where they currently are.
If he gets it done, he gets it done, right? I mean, you know.
Listen, Jack Nicklaus can walk into any tour locker room of any tour, and that locker room is going to shut the hell up to listen to what Jack has to say. Jack, I know you don't want to work, my guy. I know you just want to get out there, build some golf courses, make a few $1 million, shake a couple of hands, host a golf tournament or 2 every year. I get it, my man. When I get to your age, I am barely going to want to work, if I want to work at all. But I am also going to say we need to shine the Nicklaus light bright into the skies above Gotham City. Ooh, Gotham City. Oh, I was right there. I blew it. We need to shine the Nicklaus light very brightly and get Jack to come in and fix this freaking thing. Because otherwise, we're just going to keep doing this crap, and it's terrible right now. Let me get Rick in here before we ask what the X is going on and get up out of here for the day. Ricky, what's up, big fella?
Okay, I know both of us are Braves fans. You're a big Braves fan. I am too.
Not right now, I'm not.
What's wrong with them?
Offense stinks. The offense stinks. There's no run support. You can send out Charlie Morton to have a 3-hit day, no run support. Your injuries have stacked up to the point that you brought up a rookie from Florida who just very clearly was not ready to be on a big league bump and got racked yesterday. Had some good stuff, all right? Hudson Waldrop he had a splitter that made Eddie Rosario look like a clown at the dish. Some good stuff, just not a lot of it, unfortunately. He just was not developed yet. But Rick, honestly, like, I'm at the point where I am digging for conspiracy theories, and the one I've got right now is baseball deadened the ball a little bit this offseason to try to bring some balls back into the ballpark. And Atlanta, as a team full of mashers, has suffered from that. There are more balls this year from Atlanta hit over 300 feet that did not fly over the fence than there was all of last year for the same team. The only conspiracy theory I have right now is they deaden the baseball in the offseason and power mashing teams are just struggling. Doesn't help when Aaron Judge and Juan Soto are still mashing like they're paid for it, but that is the only thing I can come up with.
I understand that. I've been to about 8 ball games this year, and I'm not paying to go back. Every time I go, they lose.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm supposed to go over Sunday for Father's Day because I'm not a father, so I'm going to go drink my dad's favorite beer at a ball game this Sunday. And now I'm like, I don't know if I want to. Rick, appreciate it, brother. Good to talk to you this morning, man. The best I can give you for Atlanta, they deaden the balls up in the offseason, and a team that is built to thrive off of the mash can't mash right now. Again, doesn't help that Marcell Ozuna is still doing it. Doesn't help that Juan Soto and Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani are still doing it. But it's all I can come up with, man. It just is.
Now, the Rob Brown Show presents Tweet.
All right, time to check out and see what is Xing, and Rob will explain to you why. The first thing that's Xing is Elon Musk.
All right, this one's tough if it's for the reason I think that it is.
It's not.
Okay. Elon sent out a tweet last night in which he said that the policies of a particular governmental party in Germany are being labeled as questionable. And it turns out that that particular faction's party views in Germany are a little bit controversial.
All right, this is not political at all. This has to do with the space program, and he has said he's tweeted out. It was either yesterday or today. His goal is to reach Uranus.
Regardless of how I feel about Elon Musk, that's objectively hilarious. That's objectively funny.
Look it up.
It's objectively the best thing. It's the best thing he's ever tweeted.
It was him.
It's the best thing he's ever tweeted.
Yes, it was very well done. All right, the next thing that's Xing. I mean, I'm sure he would like to. It's SpaceX, right? Is his program?
That is his.
When SpaceX reaches Uranus, it's going to be a big deal because
we can put a man on Uranus.
Probably could do that. No,
do you think
no,
there'll be multiple guys on Uranus.
I think it's too gaseous for that. All right. The next thing that's Xing is the Partridge Family, because I'm going to just go to the exact opposite of that.
That was very well played on the gaseous joke. Very well played. The Partridge Family is trending because they debuted on television 70 years ago today.
I have no idea why the Partridge Family is Xing. I think it's another one of those things where something just starts trending and it just continues. I could not find any reason why the Partridge Family should be Xing.
Here's my hot take.
That guy Kincaid was an awesome manager. Look, he booked them everywhere. That's how good he was.
Here's my hot take. The Partridge Family was the worst TV family of that generation.
I thought you were going to say TV band. And
I would put them on that list too.
Yeah,
but of all of the family based around a family TV shows of that era, the Partridge Family was wildly unentertaining to me.
Well, the Jacksons were on TV at that time, so I don't know. All the stuff that we know about them now.
Yeah, but not at the time.
The Osmonds, though, very wholesome. Definitely.
Okay, you said the Osmonds, and my head immediately went to the Osbournes.
No.
Sharon!
See, we're talking 70s. 70s here, not 90s.
Someone stole my beer, Sharon. They stole my beer. Ozzy, no one stole your beer. You drank your beer. No, someone stole it.
All right, the next thing that's Xing is Will Smith.
Okay, I've seen Will Smith around the internet like a couple of times over the last few hours, one of which was there was a dude in a movie theater watching a Will Smith movie, and Will Smith was just seated next to the guy, but Will Smith had a mask on, so nobody knew it was Will Smith.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons, but it's not the main reason. The main reason is because of what Stephen A. Smith said, that he will not watch a Will Smith movie until Will Smith sits down and apologizes to the black community. I think that's a direct quote. It's pretty close to it.
I mean,
for smacking Chris Rock.
Honestly, I don't like that is not a conversation that I have a place in. All right. I don't have a place in that conversation to make or pass a judgment on what Stephen A. Smith had to say. I will say I have a lot of grace towards Will Smith and what he did, because I do genuinely think he's in a bad relationship that he doesn't know how to get up out of right now.
I thought you were going to say because you've always wanted to smack Chris Rock also.
No, I love Chris Rock. I think Chris Rock is probably if he ain't the best comedian of the past 20 years, he's in that conversation.
I loved him in Lethal Weapon 5, I think it was.
I've loved him in everything that he's done. His stand-up remains some of the greatest of the last few decades. Is that all? Are we done? Are we done here?
Well, there was one more. Baywatch is trending.
Clemson is trending. No.
I'm not. I don't have time. We got to go.
Y'all have a great rest of your Monday. We're back tomorrow to do it all over again, and there's no way it's not going to be better. Have a good rest of your day. We'll see you back here tomorrow on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Later. Yeah.
Should I have went? Ew.
There's no way the Bad Boys movie isn't going to be good, right? It's Bad Boys.
Have you seen the videos of them filming the gun thing? They have this new rig that's like that they have to strap into, and it makes the gun. You should look it up. It looked really cool. I've seen it show up on my social media a bunch, and it's Will Smith, the camera behind him showing how they're doing all of it, and it's really cool. Although it's very video game like, very first person shooter like, and I don't know if that's a good idea or not. I didn't. It's already out,
and we'll find out.
I think it came out.
Yeah, it came out this weekend.
Yeah, it's probably number one because there's really nothing. This has been a bad movie year.
A weird summer for movies, right?
Yeah, because I haven't been in a while, and I used to go every single week, and I probably won't go again till. Well, no, I think Twisters comes out before Deadpool. I want to go see Twisters.
Godzilla -1.
I haven't watched it yet. I need to set aside some time.
Liked it a lot.
Oh, you didn't love it? Oh no.
Love is hard for Godzilla movies because I'll tell you what I actually really appreciated about this.
Is it subtitled?
It can be, or you can watch it dubbed. They do have the dub.
Oh, do they have dubbed? Okay.
There is a dichotomy of Godzilla fans. There's two groups. Group one is I like big monsters breaking things. And group two is I would like some depth to the story. I'd like themes, and I'd like to think about things, and I'd like to reflect on what is Godzilla actually a representation and a symbol of. What does Godzilla represent in this case?
Let me quote a famous band. Oh no, there goes Tokyo. That's all I care about.
So you're in group one, which is I want big monsters breaking things.
Watch this since I was a little kid.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. And then there are people who want deeper meaning and symbolism in their monsters. And I have a foot in both camps. I have loved everything that they've done with the recent Godzilla in the, what is it, Universal landscape, the new Monsterverse, because it's the very first Godzilla movie, there were some themes and representations too, but ultimately the Monsterverse has devolved into giant monsters breaking stuff, and I'm all in for that. But also, I appreciate the initial concept of Godzilla representing the nuclear problem post-World War II and the ramifications we could face and yada, 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 fear, loathing, blah, blah, blah. Big fan of that. And I think this movie does a really good job of...
even the old ones did that.
For sure.
The smog monster.
The initial Godzillas were absolutely social commentary. Yeah. And I'm a big fan of social commentary in good movies. So this one, I think, has done the best job in recent Godzillas. I have not seen Shin Godzilla yet. But of all the Godzilla movies in recent years, Godzilla -1, I think, does the best job of going between a genuinely scary Godzilla, like a truly horrific Godzilla that scares you as a monster, but also has themes and patterns that jump out of the movie to make you think a little bit about what you're actually looking at here. And I think that's been fantastic. So I liked it a lot. It gets I'm going to say an A- out of me. You do have to kind of remind yourself that it's a modern movie, but it's filmed in the setting of the late 1940s, right after the bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's set it's set immediately post the end of World War II. And it's very heavy on the Japanese culture of pride and honor and all that based around the fighting of Godzilla. I very much enjoyed it. I would say it's a solid A-. There were a couple of little things I would say had some room for improvement, but overall it was very, very well done. Now I wait for Shin Godzilla to start streaming. Because them dropping -1 was a surprise. Nobody knew they were going to do that. They were dropping it internationally, and it just showed up on the American Netflix. And it's definitely worth the watch. He has one big Destroy Tokyo classic, sights of thousands of Japanese people running away from him in abject terror. There's some pretty up-close deaths in it, which is great.
Cool.
I enjoy it.
Cool in a movie sense, not in real life.
All right, dudes and dudettes, thank you guys for being here. You're all spectacular people. Tell your friends about us. Help us grow the show. Thank you. Love you. Goodbye.